What is happening, everybody? So I hope you're all doing well. Sorry again for the delay. I am by far the most unorganized person in the world. Even though I've done like what's it? I was just saying to Alex off air. This is like the 55th episode live, and you'd think that I'd be able to get everything together and get this shit up and running when I say at 7 o'clock. But we are here, a few minutes behind. So before I introduce Alex onto the show, just again want to say a massive shout out to Kold Skull Coffee. The coffee's insane. Like I say, one I like is Cold Start. The stuff is like rocket fuel. So don't forget to head over and check his website out, www.koldskullcoffee. You get, I believe, a 10% off your first order. And also, if you use code 666, you'll continue to get a 10% off after your first order. So head over and check out his website. Again, it's cool to support a small brand. You know, he's a one man band on his own. He hasn't got a massive distribution and selling, like, he ain't got a massive team of people working with him, but he's doing it all on his own. So support a small company, and also head over and check out Silverback cuts. Obviously, what Lucas is doing with the waistcoats is awesome. You can pretty much get anything you want made. If you're able to stitch it and cut it, it's able to be turned into an awesome leather cut or fabric cut or whatever. So yeah, that's www.silverbackcuts.com. Head over and check his website out. He's also on Silverback Cuts 1 on Instagram. He's got loads of pictures there, loads of people sharing their pictures of the cuts that they bought from him. So yeah, I'm going to waffle on anymore. I'm going to introduce Alex to the show. It's going to be cool. I'm definitely intrigued to see as to why and how he's gone about the way he does things with the 3D stuff and all that stuff. So let's get him on.
Hey,
How we doing, mate?
Yeah, all right, thanks. You all right?
Yes, good, mate. Sorry, that's saying I'll fucking waffle on way too much.
No, it's all right. It seems a little bit weird because we've already been here. We've already said you're all right and whatever. So
yeah,
no, it's good to be on.
No, thank you. Thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for coming on. I say I'm like genuinely intrigued. Like I've seen some of your videos and stuff of like the way you've been, we 3D printed and all that, and I think that's awesome. I think it's clever. It's clever the way you.
Yeah.
What we'll start wherever you want to start. If you want to go back to what got you into bikes or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you make. The floor is yours.
Yeah, that'd be a good place to start. So, pretty much, bikes really started for me because that's my true passion. Especially is these days. I mean, it used to be classic cars, but I think cars just kind of ruined it for me. Just with being in they're just not quite the same. The way they can be, it's just sometimes they're not. It's just not great. You can easily work on a bike, can't you? And working on a car sometimes involves a lot more gear. It involves a lot more gear,
Yeah.
Anyway, so pretty much bikes really for me started back in, I would have been about 20. That's when I started kind of getting the sort of the itch to get a bike, But back then, you couldn't get a full license. So I could have got some sort of license to get on a bike, but I was so narrow-minded on what it was I really wanted, and that was obviously a Harley, being mainly what I'm dealing with, and ever since day one of getting that itch to get on a bike, it was because of Harley. Right. I remember just hearing that V-twin thump and thinking that is the greatest noise in the world. It quite literally is. That just stuck with me, and I just couldn't let it go. And it just got to the point where I was like, right, I'm going to really seriously have to think about getting a bike and getting a license. So time passed by a little bit, and on and off, I was like, I'm going to do it. And then things get in the way, money gets in the way and whatnot. And I think I got to about 22 at this point, and I'm like, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get my license. And then at the same time, my dad was thinking about getting back on a bike as well, because when he was younger, he used to ride like a, like a typical sort of mod scooter, with all the mirrors and stuff. So that was him. He came off that, and then he put to bed. That was him. Like, he never got back on two wheels again. So I think not so much a midlife crisis, but a little bit further on that, I think, decided, like, right, I'm going to do my full license and get a proper motorbike, like he never had. And so he got his license before me. And I think that is what really actually kicked it off, because I kept seeing my dad going out for a ride, thinking, well, that'd be nice to join you on that ride, and not being able to. Even though he was on a sports bike, and then, it's each to their own. Nice bike, don't get me wrong, but it's just not my sort of gig, So, no. Anyway, so 22, I'm doing it. I've got the money, I'm going to do it. Literally that year, I think for some stupid reason, I ended up doing something else with the money. And when I was 23, I was like flipping out, I need to do it. And 24 comes around, and then when I turned 24, they changed. So I wanted to do direct access. And for those who don't know, that's basically going from never riding a bike to getting a full license, ride whatever you want. So I was going to do that. So not going to mess about. To get a Harley, the big CC bikes, not necessarily got loads of power, but they got big CC. So I thought direct access, that's the way to go. And 24, they changed the age, the minimum age you had to be to do the license. So it went from being 22 to 24 when I turned 20, just after I turned 24.
So it's like it was meant to be.
It was like it was meant to be. And then that definitely made me do it. Because I thought, well, if they've moved it once, they could do it again. And I don't want to wait too much longer. So that was it. And then I did the license and got into bikes, and the first bike was GT600. Or it's got a few names, actually. It's got Shadow 600, Honda Shadow, or VLX 600, as they call it in the States. And it was like the entry point for me. I know it's not a Harley, but it was like cheap insurance. I couldn't get, so I got to the point of, right, I've got this license, I'm going to get a Harley. I couldn't afford insurance. So I was a bit gutted. But I thought, right, I worked it out. 1 year's no claims, whatever, blah, blah, blah. A year later, I'm on the Harley. So I was like, right, substitute VT600 VLX.
I mean, there's nothing to scrounge at a Shadow, especially an old one. I mean, look at what the lads like over at Lane Splitters, on YouTube. Like, look at like the old, like the LA style, club style that they do. I mean, I think they're cool. Like, I really, really do. And obviously you do a 2-into-1 manifold single carb conversion on it. You get it running a bit more of a. You get that a bit more of a thumpty dump like you do on a Harley. Obviously it's never going to be a Harley, but I don't think there's anything wrong with them.
Absolutely not. In fact, it is actually, it turned out to be a really solid, really good bike. And I'm one of these people that will like research something to death before I do it. And I mean, people tell me, like, I swear you've got ADHD, because if you flick through my phone, it's just like going from one subject to another, but it's intense. It's just like signs all over the place.
Yeah.
But I really researched them, and I thought, can I make this work? Is it going to be for me, or do we need to look at something else? And there was, at this point, like you say, it starts being like people in the States, because I find typically, like, you see that sort of stuff coming from them normally, with like the custom culture over there being massive and stuff. So started seeing these VLXs popping up and people doing more and more of them, and I thought, oh, so it's giving you a bit of inspiration, and what you want to do with yours, and that was it. And then I just that was it. It was on, and I really wanted one, and it was when we were younger. My brother actually used to race go-karts, and that like cost a hell of a lot of money. He used to fund that himself, but he used to have a lot of like help out, shall we call it, from my dad. And we never really had much. You know what I mean? We weren't poor or anything by any means, but we weren't rich. You know what I mean? So for my dad to help my brother out, kind of meant a lot for him. And one day, my dad's like, right, you've got a license, we're going to get you a bike. And I'm kind of like, right, yeah, but Dad, I need to save up for it first. And he's like, no, I'm gonna get you the bike. So I was like, okay, wow. So, and that is like, my dad's taught me some proper solid lessons. And that is always to, if you want something, you earn the money for it and you work for it, and you get it, and you reap the rewards from it. And so growing up, especially from being like, say, 13 onwards, it's always been like that. I didn't have a mobile phone. Or it was what would be in like early 2000s there. I didn't have a mobile phone until I was 18, and I had a mobile phone because I just got a job. Until then I couldn't afford to buy one. I mean, there's still bricks back then. It's still Nokia 37, 3310 or whatever it was back then. But anyway, so he like burn them lessons into me like good and proper, and thank him for that. But then having this moment of him turning around and saying, I'm going to help you out and help you out massively, although it's only, to some it might not be much, but to me it was a lot of money. $3,000 for a
lot of money. It's a lot of money.
So yeah, so that was that. So that it made it that kicked me off, and then we got so I was looking there, so we got the VLX, and my dad went down and got it, and because I was I'd tied up with work and stuff, and he had some time off, so he went down in the works van and got it, and came back, and he got back at like midnight or whatever, and it's pitch black, and I'm just wanting to like rip the back doors off the van and get in there and have a look at it. And it was kind of I suppose like the same experience of buying a bike completely blind from abroad, maybe. I've seen these pictures, but it didn't really matter. It was a standard bike. It didn't really matter.
No,
I was going to rip this thing apart. The second we pressed the button on buying this thing, I knew literally second it got back, I'm cutting the back end off. I'm literally cutting it in half. So the doors come open, we get it out, we get it in the shed. We never had a garage. We just had a little shed that my dad built. And then literally the following morning, got up at the crack of dawn, following morning, hacksaw, because then had no tools, just like very minimal sort of tools that my dad had. And because he was a joiner, so he's like got like wood chisels and stuff like that. He's not particularly got metalwork sort of tools, so we didn't really have much. But we did have a hacksaw, and bugger me, you can do a lot with a hacksaw, so chop away at the frame, and just all this inspiration that I'd had from the States just flowed straight into the bike. So that was great. So then that turned into like my first custom bike, so to speak, if you like. And it was kind of like I called it a bobber on a budget, because
nothing wrong with that.
I'd managed to save about 500 quid. Bearing in mind at this point I'm doing an apprenticeship for being a mechanic. I get paid 450 quid a month. Back then I did.
Wow.
Not much, is it? Like nowadays, well, I say nowadays, it's still the same value, but it's like my apprentice at work, he's on weirdly not that much less than myself. So it's
crazy.
It has changed in terms like that. The whole apprentice scheme now is much better, but Anyway, so I have more, she had 500 quid to spend on this bike. And I was like, right, it's a bob on budget. What can I do with this bike? And it was a case of like taking the front mudguard off, and rather than buying parts, because there wasn't really anything in the UK. I think there was absolutely nothing actually in the UK at the time for that particular model, that bike. Maybe there was blue collar bobbers in the States, and they were doing like little kits. They were doing little kits, but I, out of my price range, couldn't afford to import it. Although it probably wouldn't have cost you an arm and a leg them days like it does now. Yeah, so it was pretty much, what can I take what's in front of me and turn it into something cool, really. Took the front fender off, took all the mounts off it, re-welded it onto the back. For some crazy reason, I wanted to run the back tire as like, you know, the old school sort of 1932, 30s sort of like Ford era sort of tire, like very high
like
shoulder,
square, high shoulder and square,
almost like a bike, a classic bike, a drag bike tire, you know, kind of like that sort of thing, but it's got the tread. And so I went to what they call, I learned from that, researching like tire size, the rim, and then from that learned about what they call like running on the dark side. And running on the dark side, as they call it, is like putting a car tire on a bike. What the rest of that means, I have no idea. But anyway, to me, it was just the right tire, the right look, and the only cheap way of getting it. So I ended up buying this tire, which looks like it's been in a shed somewhere for 50 years as it is, and probably should not be going on the back of a motorcycle. But I did it nevertheless. It was like 10 quid off eBay. That's
love
in
it.
my budget.
Love it.
I'm having that, and on the bike it goes. And I'm telling you now, that is the tightest tire I've ever fitted to a bike rim in my life. 100 psi with a gas torch heating the rim up to get it pop on the rim. It's absolutely ridiculous. How I'm still here, I don't know. But that was ridiculous. Anyway, so start chopping in stuff like that. So cut the back end off and neatened it all up. Front fender goes on the back. Do all this work to it. Just polished up the tank. And it was a nice, like, sort of candy red on the base and black on the top, sort of slick colours on the tank. And I thought,
was it a standard paint job?
It was, yeah. But it was like, it's nice. It was nice still, you know. So I thought, I'll run with that. I really liked the candy paint, and I thought, well, I'm gonna have to paint something. I'm gonna have to paint the frame, or, you know, just rattle can that. But the fender's gonna have to be like a proper job. And again, candy paint, expensive, like going on to one of the most expensive paints. And this at this point, I'm working at a different garage at this point, and it had like a little booth, not a legit body shop, just like as like I'm in right now. It's essentially it was a garage on the side of a building, and turned into a little bit of a body shop, a single ramp in there. And Will, the guy that was doing the body work, he said to me, said, "Oh, we'll you know, every day we'll do a little bit of paint if you want, and we'll do get your skills up using a gun and stuff like that." So we're doing that over the next couple of weeks. And I said, because I really wanted to do the paint myself, not just because I like the funding, but I wanted to like tick that box of learning a new skill, you know, which is one of the great things about doing custom bikes and just working on your own bike, is picking up new skills that you never thought you had, but, you know, giving yourself the opportunity to do it. And so the paint comes along, and I'm like, right, okay. And I must have got through, like, in the end, it ended up with the standard colours, but I'm thinking different colours, this and the other, and he's got the laptop there, you can just stick in the code, and it brings up what you need to mix. So I learned how to mix paint, you know, gram of this, 2 grams of that, you know, just mixing paint up and just nicking the paint, really, just like without anyone knowing, just nicking all this stock that I had and just mixing up random colours and just seeing what I really liked. And then in the end, I kept looking at that candy thinking, no, actually, I think that's the one. So said to Will, said, right, that is what I'm going for. So at this point, I've done a little bit of like, I've painted this fender like 10 times at this point to finish, like complete done, and then gone, no, it's not right. Stripped it all in a bin of like paint thinners, pull it out the next day, it's back to bare metal again, primer it, flatten it, over and over again. So anyway, so Bill says to me, right, we'll get this paint, but it's you know, it's expensive, like, so we're gonna hide the invoice for it. So
Yeah.
did me a big favor, and in the end, this really expensive paint cost me absolutely nothing, because I was like, no, well, I'll pay for the paint, you know, like, you know, I don't want to get in trouble. If he's like, no, he said you've done me plenty of favors. He said, we're gonna throw that up, and we're gonna throw that in the cupboard, and that's quite literally what he did. And best not mention where I used to work, eh? But
no. Well, I mean, not that they might not listen to it, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going anymore anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it? But
no, but still, yeah, keep it, yeah, keep it to yourself.
Yeah. So anyway, so it ends up doing this paint, and first time it was like, he said to me, because this is like, he said, this is motorcycle paint. Oh, what do you mean? He said, well, it's got actual ink in it, and that's what gives it that deep sort of transition in the candy. So he said, it's like, it's not just what you've been doing, what you've been learning, it's harder than that. So I was like, okay, so I've learned how to paint, I've learned how to spray, but now I'm going on to like the next level. Couple of tries, first try, didn't quite, we lacquered it, and he was like, I don't know what it's going to do if we lacquer it. So he said, typically you wouldn't lacquer this sort of paint, but we'll lacquer it, we'll see what it does. If it don't work, if it flattens off, we'll do it again. That's what happened, unfortunately. But the second time round, we got it absolutely bang on, and it was quite an achievement for me, really. It's one of the skills that I've not actually practiced for quite some time, you know. So anyway.
Painting, it's definitely an act to it, you know. I mean, and there is somewhat you are at the mercy of the paint gods, because you know you can do the same combos of paints week in, week out, and randomly it just has a chemical reaction. It will gas under the layers, and you know,
like you've got like, you don't even think about it, but the stuff that's on your hands just naturally, you know, if you don't body panel wipe that thing that you're painting first, it can just completely ruin it. So there's a lot of challenges with it. And bearing in mind, I'm doing that in like a makeshift workshop as well, that body shop, I should say. Anyway, so we get there and we get it done, and it's quite an achievement. Get it all on the bike. And then obviously started, like, I've never welded either. So one of the lads that I was working with at the time, he was quite good at MIG welding, and never TIG welded, but he's quite good at MIG welding. So he then shows me like a little bit of MIG, and you should have seen it. I think it's on my personal Instagram account. I think if you scroll right back to near the beginning, I think there's a picture of it on there. And one of my cousin's husband, he's like a coded welder, like does it for a living, and I'm thinking, he's going to absolutely slate this. But I was so proud of it. Looking back now, it was absolutely the worst work in my life that I did on this little exhaust. But he said, no, you know, you did a good job considering, you know, you've never done it. So I ended up doing this godforsaken, awful, like, welding on the exhaust for this VLX, and I thought,
but if it doesn't break, if it don't break, mate, it don't fall off. You know.
Well, do you know what? That's it. The one thing I learned about welding is, I mean, it thankfully didn't. No, actually, no. Tell a lie, it did. The back cylinder actually fell. It actually fell off. I was going to work on it. Just so happened to work on it, so we tacked it up so I could get home and do it again. But was
it your weld that broke, or was it your weld that broke on the back?
Yeah, so it pretty much literally went from me never welding to doing like literally a little patch like this on some scrap metal. And You know, there's so many things. It's like paint. There's so many things that come into it that you don't think of. Like it's just ridiculous. There's so much into it, and all this stuff back then didn't have a clue about it. And it's probably the one thing that I didn't really research properly at the time. I just wanted to get the exhaust done. You know, it's the only thing that I needed welding, and I just wanted to get it done. I actually, this bike, coming towards the end of building this bike, I actually had a bike show, not a competition. I would say it was just a bike show, Manchester bike show. It was at the Event City. So big, massive, kind of like you've been to the NEC, right? To Motorcycle Live.
No, I haven't been to it, mate. No. I don't know. I'm a bit, to be honest, it's a bit too PC for me. I'm a bit.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean? Like the whole fucking GS Dakar stuff, each to their own. It's just, and I'm not really a super bike fan. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love super bikes on a track, but I'm more homemade stuff. Like stuff that Lloyd builds, stuff that you built, like anything built, custom built, anything that expresses who you are. That's really where I'm getting. You know what I mean? Street fighters, cafes, brats, bobbers, choppers, club bikes. You know.
Yeah, it is good, but I totally get what you're saying. I'm totally on board with it. But you've got to go to experience it. But anyway, big old building. Shitload of bikes, whatever, and it's very similar setup to that, but just in Manchester, just near the Traff Centre. You must have heard that. Heard of the Traff Centre?
Yeah, I've heard of Traff Centre. Yeah, I've been to it.
Yeah. It wasn't. So, anyways, just next to that. So that was like, right, big gig, but I'm just going. And I've done this. I have genuinely done this with every single. I shouldn't really be saying this, but every single bike show that I've gone to with a bike, like riding it there, because I'm not a cheap ass by any means, but where I can save money, I'll try to. And most bike shows that I've been to, if there's been an opportunity to book my bike in the show bit of it, to get in for free all weekend and potentially get some free extra tickets, I'll do it. I'm not in it for winning the show. I'm not in it for taking part at all. It's really bad to say that, but it's the truth. I'm gonna tell you the truth. That is literally the only reason why you'll see my bike sat there or whatever, So Manchester Live bike show, right? Normally go to that a couple of years in advance, so I knew what the crack was with the gig of this show and that, and it's an expensive show to get in. It really is, and it's normally me, Dad, and I was like, you know what? This year I've got an excuse not to have to get in here. I'm gonna enter the bike, see what happens, and like most stuff, they have to verify it that they want it in the show. They don't just take anything, So
no.
So then I get accepted into it. I'm like, wicked, absolutely fantastic. Bugger me, it's in like a couple of months' time, and this bike ain't anywhere near being finished. So I need to get that done. And he gave me a deadline to work to, and it did me a favor. Like exhaust, Bosch, done. Wrap the exhaust up to cover up the awful welding. Put some nice tips on it and stuff like that. But to me, it absolutely looked the dog's bullish. It really did. And I got the back fender so tight to the tire. It was like typically you'd get a chain, wrap it on the tire, sit it on top. Right, that's a clearance. Tire swell whilst it gets hot. There's plenty of clearance. Not with it. It was just totally by eye. And I do a lot of stuff by eye. Like my last bike.
I do, mate. I do.
Yeah, last bike I hardtailed it, and it was all by eye. And I tell you now, it was as straight as you can get it in a jig.
Nice.
I confirmed that afterwards, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to carry on doing things by eye." But yeah, it was all done by eye. This fender's on there, nice and tight. Made my own seat and stuff like that. And I wanted to make, as like I said, with a budget, as much of it as possible. And the idea was I'd put it in a show and put it down as you know, a bobber on a budget, like I said before. And I made this, like, it's the only time I've ever done it. Actually, I've made like this little plaque. Had like a picture of like in there and like what I'd done to it and the specs of it and stuff like that, just so people could see, you know, what you can do. It's for me, it's like it's an opportunity to inspire somebody else to do kind of what I did, you know, where I started, and get more people into it, because I think in the UK they're really lack of stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy you're saying that, because I don't know if you've seen the video that I put out the other day. I've been given the task of putting together the budget biker build off over at the Custom Culture Blast Off, and and it's had some great reactions, and I've expected every reaction. I expected the reactions from certain people going. I've had people say you can't even build a push bike for that, and I'm like, you can, you know, you can. What you're not doing is you're not looking past what's in front of you in your garage. Like, don't forget where this culture started. You know what I mean? I said it on the Custom Culture Blast Off podcast that we just did. And it's like, let's not forget that these 30 grand flat pan heads, shovels, knuckles that people are building, let's not forget where they actually come from. And the people that built them originally, the same styles that you're now replicating were built by people that are fundamentally were on a tight budget, just like you were, just like I am. You know, let's not forget where this culture come from, and it's had some great reactions, and I'm excited to see what people are going to do. Obviously, anyone's welcome to have a go. The rules simply are £1,000 maximum you're allowed to spend, and the market value of up to 2,000. And what that means, because I've had a few people ask me, is we all have that mate that's going to let you have a Harley for 800 quid, is to eliminate that, because no Harley is worth £2,000. It's literally to completely and utterly level the playing field. You know, literally just listening to your story is like exactly that. Exactly the point that I want people, because I'm on a tight budget. Like, you know, I've got 2 kids, I've got family, you know, I've got, you know, as well as a lot of people. And like, I really don't think that. So I'm currently building a little Chinese 125 that I've owned for a long time. I honestly, whether it's arrogance, I honestly don't believe that a £30,000 knuckle has any more right to be at a show than my £600 Chinese 125.
No,
and it isn't, and that's not saying that 20, 30 grand knuckle is not a lot better built than me. Of course, it's got history. Of course, it is earned the right to have a certain amount of respect. You know, the fact, the life, the stories that engine and bike and frame can tell are absolutely incredible. However, I've earned the right to be at this show as well. Do you know what I mean? And that's very much just like you, to inspire other people. Because the way I look at it is, if you can get somebody addicted to engines and wheels, you know, it's hopefully that they're not going to have the money to do other things that are going to, you know, harm them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And puts them down a good path, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, you know, but that's it. You know, it's the point that, like, you're going to build a bike on a budget, and at the end of the day, like say now, obviously you can go. I think that I got the tank on my ZX, the paintwork on my ZX10. It's an oxblood red candy, but the point being, right, that it's a concentrate, so it comes in a 100ml bottle, £10.
Yeah.
For 100ml of oxblood red candy concentrate. You know, you can do a paint job for a couple of £100. Obviously, you know, you House of Colours, you know, all your fancy stuff. Of course, it is more, but you can still do you know, I'm not trying to. You already know what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I think, like what you said there about the fancy, you know, vintage chopper that's worth, you know, ridiculous money. You know, like you say, your bike, it could be a 125, and it could look the absolute dog's baller, and like you say, it totally deserves to be in that show. more than anything else there. It really does. And the only difference between them two bikes is one, you know, is got a lot of desirability about it from a lot of people, like a massive group of people. And that is the only thing that makes that bike worth what it's worth, because your market goes up and down all the time. Why does it go up and down? Because things become desirable and then they become less desirable. You know, it's like anything, isn't it? You know, new iPhone comes out, it's dead expensive, whatever. You know, there's big hype about it. But then 10 years down the line, I reckon you could go and pick one up for next to nothing, couldn't you? Because it's old. It's like it's not being talked about anymore. There's no hype about it, and it's kind of like the same thing with that. You just got the desire. So
well,
yeah, but
I
like
think
you say,
with
there's absolutely no difference.
Yeah, and I think like with the shovels and, you know, the pan heads and that, I think obviously there has become a massive hipster seat movement to it, and you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, I think at the end of the day, like, it's like I'm saying to people, like, look, we want to make our points about what we believe be within the custom culture, whether you're a diehard, like you've been into bikes your whole life, and you think it's wrong that these guys that work in offices that are earning 60, 80 grand a year, that are going out and paying somebody like Lloyd to build a bike for them, for example, or any well-established builder. The point is they're still on the road. You know, it doesn't matter who's buying them. Like, yes, it is it's a bit crazy that the money is where they are, but that is it. That's that, you know, you move on to the next level down. You know, you move on to, I mean, look at what Evos are starting to do now. You know what I mean? Like, not, you know, Evos, like, Evos are looking cool as fuck. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Evos, your twin cams. You know, it's Sportsters. I mean, look at what Sportsters have done. You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, you know, you know, I went from that VLX to my first Sportster. I got the 2003 100th anniversary one, and because of that, I mean, as much as I really wanted a Sportster, and then to be able to do, you know, I've always had, from that point onwards, I always had that chopper dream, like many of us do have. And again, I was like, okay, I'm going to weigh it up. How much is this actually going to cost? Way out my budget, even to do a Sportster. And many would consider that's like the lower level, like entry sort of level into that whole, you know, niche sort of market.
What year was it?
As far as building?
What year? Sorry to interrupt. Because obviously, what year did you get your Sportster? Because obviously the Sportster scene just gone crazy.
Yeah, so that would have been, let me think about this. So it was like 2000 and probably like 10 around there. Put it this way, the Sportster cost me the same amount as it did for the VLX.
Right.
It was like £3,000, and
yeah,
that for me, the only thing, like going back before, the only reason why I didn't go straight to the Sportster is because I knew
insurance.
I couldn't get insured on it. So what's the point in getting that? I wanted to get on the road, so I got the VLX. But then I was like, right, I've got the 1 year's no claims. It's not the money that's holding me back to buy the bike now. I'm going to switch. I got the Sportster, and it's £3,000. I mean, if you shop about, you can still get one now for like £3,500. Barely, like you say, they're going up. They're like that next tier up now. They're like £4,500. Sort of like for a standard bike, and sometimes a real ratty one and absolutely knackered, you know. And I'm one of them people. I like to start, if I buy a complete bike, which is what I do most of the time, I like to start with a nice example. Like many of us would probably like to do. It doesn't always work out that way, but and I got that. But because it was the 100th anniversary one, I didn't want to, in a way, I didn't really want to touch it, because I felt like, you know, that someone might take that on after me and keep that until one day it's worth a lot of money. And The last thing that guy wants is, or last, like the last thing that they want is the previous owner just completely undoing all that, that anniversary work. And it is a nice bike. It was a nice bike. And I thought, just ride it. Just get used to a Harley and just get used to that big old 1200cc engine that I'd never felt before. You know what I mean? I've on a license on 600, then I've got a 600 which had next to no power whatsoever, to a 1200 that was like flipping heck. It was raw. Wildest ride home on a bike I've ever had in my life. Nearly went off the side of a bridge with it, but that's another story.
I'm interested. Now I want to know that story.
Well, I'll come back to it. So the VLX. So get the bike done for the show. Entered it into the show like I said before, and I'm like, right, I got in for free. Got dad some tickets. Even got me like one for my mum and stuff like that. And because the bike was in the show, mum would never go to something like that typically. But because the bike was in the show, she was like, all right, I'll come and see it, show the support and stuff. So that was great. And so off we go. So ride the bike to the show, because I'm not one of these. I'm not sticking it in the van. I'm not trailing it there. The bike's made to be ridden, I'll do that with any show that I go to. I'll ride it there. Even if I want it to look like a show bike at the other end, So ride it there, get it in there, get it all set up on the Friday after work. Excuse me. And Saturday comes around and it's heaving, and the bike's getting quite some good attention. But I don't like standing with the bike. I don't like being that guy that stood next to his bike and wanting to talk to everyone about it. I just like go and enjoy the show, So Saturday sort of evening comes round. It's a weekend show, and there's a big massive stage over on the back end, the corner of the whole entire building. And on Saturday afternoon, bear in mind I'm like, this is my first bike. I've done some custom work to it and stuff, but I'm setting it up and there's bikes rolling in. I'm like, flipping heck, like I'm well out of my league here. This is like kind of like what you were saying before with the 1-5. You'd probably turn up and you'd be like, oh man, you'd be a little bit bummed out that all these other bikes are absolutely incredible, that are getting parts up around you. You kind of be a little bit sort of feeling a bit defeated. And that's kind of how I was. Well, anyway, cutting a long story short, I get to Saturday evening, I ended up speaking to this guy randomly. He didn't even know who it was, just told him what I did on the bike and stuff, and it was my first bike. Well, it turns out it was actually one of the judges, and I was like, oh, and I didn't realise that until Sunday. I walk in, and I just go over to the bike, and I was like, I'm just going to check it's not on its side, some plonker's not just pushed it over and stuff. It was like fenced off and that, but just wanted to check it over. And there's this yellow plaque on the seat. I was, oh, flipping heck. So go and have a look at it, and you've won an award, be at the stage for 4 p.m. Today.
Fucking nice.
Oh, flipping heck. Okay, all right, yeah, cool. So I'm thinking straight away. So the bike was 1997, right? So I put it on the form. I ticked the 90s box and I ticked the custom box, right? So I'm like, right, yeah, it's probably third place 90s class. So mum's there, my dad's there, I'm there. I'm like bricking it already because of the fact I've got to go onto this stage, and there's absolutely a ton of people that I'm just not good in front of a load of people like that. So I'm like, right, third place, 90s. And they go down. So they get older and older and older. So they go like, right, 2000s, whatever, 90s. I'm like, right, here we go. I'm literally getting ready to go up, and it comes and goes. Second comes and goes. I'm like, no, I've not won it. It must be third. It must be third in the custom class then. So that goes. I'm like, right, getting ready to go up. Right, all right, okay, right, I've come second. I ended up winning it, and I couldn't believe it. Absolutely gobsmacked. I've still got the trophy up there somewhere.
That's awesome, man.
Absolutely good. So, yeah, that would jog my memory. So that's 2013, sorry. So I would have got the Sportster in 2014. So I was like, oh, boom, couldn't believe it. And that for me is probably what gave me that spark to carry doing it. You know, like
because
winning
you
not
obviously
everything.
realize you've got something. Do you know what I mean? Like you're building the confidence of going. Do you know what? Like I know what I can do here. Like I'm only gonna get better. Do you know what I mean? It's the same for me. It's like, you know, I've fucking got a fucking 10 by 6 shed. And I don't know how to weld and shit. I mean, I made a whole sub. I got a custom made one-off subframe on the ZX10, and you know, I've done like first exhaust I made on my 125 originally was made out of a bed frame. You know, because I didn't really have a spare 20 quid to just go and get a meter and a half of 40mm tube. You know, and I did play cuts. I got like 14 cuts, and it wraps around the frame and comes down, and it's like. That the kind of, again, going back to the budget bike build off it, I would park that bike up, whether it be outside a shop or whether it be at a supermarket or even at a bike cafe, and people would come and ask about it. Oh, people taking pictures of it, and it's the same with the ZX10. You know, it's like, and I kind of think, well, do you know what? If people are interested in that now, imagine what I could do if I actually knew what I was doing. Like, you know.
Yeah, totally. And it's a weird reaction, isn't it? It's like
it's great.
You park it up, and people are really digging it, what you've done, and you're thinking, oh, like people actually have like thought something of what I've done, you know, and getting the recognition for it. I think that it really plays a big part on, really plays on a big part of going on to better things, you know, like it pushes you, gives you that drive to carry on.
Yeah, because I think when you get, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't people like this, but I think that everyone builds for some form of maybe not so much validation, but you want people to be impressed with what you're doing. You get some builders that say, oh, I couldn't give a fuck what anyone thinks. I'm building it for me, and I'm thinking, well,
yeah.
But you know, I'm not calling I'm not calling bullshit on it. I'm not at all calling bullshit on it. But I'm thinking, surely you want people to think that's cool. Like, and if they don't, you don't give a fuck if they don't. But you would probably like people to go, "I like that's cool. That's different." You know.
Do you know what another way of looking at it is? Would you rather people turn around and go, "That bike's shit, mate"? No, you wouldn't. Would you?
No,
you wouldn't, would you? So maybe some people might, but they probably wouldn't do it to your face. And that's fine. And that's fine, because I'm telling you now, the bike I build, it's for me. It's not for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's everyone's, you know, my dad does not like Harleys, but he appreciates the work and, you know, the effort and the skill that goes into doing what is, you know, I've done in the past. And he appreciates anything on two wheels. He really does, but he would choose to have one. So everyone's got their own opinion. And like you say, you get people that are like, oh, yeah, you know, they're trying to be cool, whatever, and brush it off. And they're like, oh, you know, it's no big deal. But there is that, you like you say, you can't lie. There's that little bit of you that just wants someone to go, nice job, that, mate. You know?
Yeah.
And,
that's
you
it.
know, it is. Yeah. I mean, you know, for me, it's not the be all and end all of why I like to do what I do. It's just an added little bonus. If someone says to me, you know, flipping heck, you know, how have you done that? How have you done this? Then I've got all the time in the world for them to, you know, and inspire them to do the same thing. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I've not gone and done some sort of, like, I'm not gone and done some special chopper course, or, you know, you know, it's just literally having a go, and
absolutely,
and seeing what comes of it. Totally.
I mean, my so obviously, like, I'm slowly piecing together like a YouTube thing, you know, like with building the 125 and that, and to be honest, like, my best content, like the most reactions and interactions and people watching, seems to be when I got an old phone holder that I screwed to the side of the shed, and, you know, sometimes I go live, and it seems to get people seem to jump on and just watch you cutting up bits of metal. And I always say, like, none of my videos are how to. My videos are watch me attempt not to fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, literally, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, you know. But like, I built the subframe on a ZX10. I got a mate who's like 6 foot odd, about 20 stone, and I said to him, I said, jump on that, and he was like, what do you mean? I said, literally, sit on it. I said, and then jump on it, like literally as if you were going over a ramp, over a jump on a motocross track. I said, I want you to literally full on jump on it. He's like, why? I said,
I want you to
because if it holds you, it's all right. You know,
yeah.
and you know, I mean, obviously, yeah, like YouTube, you go on YouTube and you obviously you learn how the world, like what you're looking for, and you don't go into it completely blind. But no one goes into anything completely blind, you know.
No, I mean, like I said, like, you know, when I first started welding, like when I had that VLX and I did that exhaust, I had a little dabble and then came away from it. But I kind of knew. Like you say, you don't go into it completely blind. I knew I needed a mask. I knew I needed to, you know, get the torch in a certain way and whatever. And it's just building up that skill. Well, there's a lot to be said for YouTube. There genuinely is. And I've gone from not being able to weld at all to being what I consider, considering I'm self-taught and I've not done a course, I think I'm pretty decent at having a go at it, you know. And that's TIG welding as well. And I've always liked that idea of TIG. It's nice and clean. There's no sparks going everywhere. It's kind of like more user friendly in that sense.
Yeah, I've not TIG welded yet.
Well, you need to. You genuinely do, because you'll do it and you'll be like, why have I been messing about with MIG all this time? And it's it's kind of it's actually, I find it very therapeutic, actually. It's just, it's quiet, you know, like MIG, it's like, it's loud, and it's none of that. It's just, there's something cool about it. It's really nice to do. And when you get a really good result at the end of it as well, it's really rewarding, you know. So, but YouTube, that's literally what I did. Went on YouTube, and there's a guy, forget his name now, but there's a young guy over in Canada, literally went on a course, blah, blah, blah. He's now teaching people years later, and he started a YouTube channel. You go on there, and he's like, right, just dab and chill, you know. And I'm always keep that in my head when welding, just like dab and chill, just like, you know, just it just getting tips like that. YouTube it's a fantastic thing, and you know, we can go and find out about anything on there now, and it's you know, it's a cool place to be. But it's a great place to pick up some skills, much like what I did with the stuff behind me, you know. So you know, none of this stuff I knew what I was doing with. I went into that blind, and I was like, right, this is going to be a big learning lesson. It took some time. It took a good couple of years, but it's just another box to tick on skills to build what, you know, we like to build, you know, bike wise, and get you where you want to be. So, but so the Sportster would have been 2014. Didn't do anything with that. Got rid of that because I always tend to have stuff for like a year, and then I get the itch. I get the itch to, you know, like I say, swear I've got ADHD. You know, like my attention span, it's intense. Like it's intense. It's like I'm full on into something to the point where, like, my partner Tess, she'll completely agree with this. Like, I've become obsessed with something to the point where there's nothing else in the room. You know, I'm on it all the time. I'm like flicking, looking through shit on the phone at stuff, and if I stop and just like, what are you doing? You know, it's a bloody problem. I'm telling you, not been diagnosed, but I'm telling you now, it's a problem.
That's it.
It's a problem that's actually, I think, has probably steered me in the direction of what I do now. You know, I've become obsessed with one thing to be able to be. It's allowed me to be able to come good enough at doing that. Whatever it is, you know, like laser work or 3D work, whatever. So I reckon it's worked. You know, it's worked for me. But anyway, so you know, it's going from there. I've forgotten where we were.
Yeah, so you had the Sportster. You didn't do anything with it,
so we had
and
the
then
Sportster, didn't do anything with that, and then went from that to I swapped it for. I came away from Harleys. I had this, and this is all from seeing a picture. This is all from seeing a picture. I saw a picture of a basically 1970s era CB 750 Honda. So back to Hondas again, but totally not my bag at all. Not what I thought it was anyway, until the time. And I saw this cafe racer. I like old bikes, always like old bikes, not so much new bikes. And it's always been like that consistently. And I saw this CB 750 in a cafe racer way, in a cafe racer way style. And I think it was on Pinterest or something. And it was just absolutely insane. And I just loved it. I fell in love with it. And I was like, I'm genuinely going to swap the Harley, this anniversary edition. It was mint, like mint, no miles on it at all, for a non-running, sat in storage for like 30 years. CB 750. And I'm going to run with it. And I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. You know, how I was going to cut the exhaust, do it in a budget way. And I did that. And I never showed that actually. But what a bike in the end. It was just ridiculous. It was like, you know, when you get them like bad boy street racers going down the road with the 4-inch tail tips on the Vauxhall Corsas or whatever, and it's just all noise and no go. That was the CB 750. It was like, just had neighbor complaints. It's the only time I've ever had anything like that in my life. Neighbor complaints every night, tuning it, couldn't get it right. It doesn't. I learned in the end, they just do not run on pod filters. You know, like the little cheap pod filters you can get off eBay.
Yeah.
Like K&N style things. So I had it on them. 4 of them, thought it looked really cool and that. No, it's just not happening. Not on them carburetors. Not at all. Ended up going back to...
Yeah, you have to end up spending 300 quid on a Dynajet kit to get them to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so my ZX10's still on the box. It's still on the original box, you know, air box, but I have a K&N panel filter in it. But because I've chopped the exhaust down, it runs lumpy on overrun. It doesn't idle very well. But like on the overrun, mate, because it ain't running right properly, it just pops and bangs and spits flames, and it's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's not overheating. I've checked the plugs; they're not white. I don't care. I don't care that I'm burning £5 worth of fuel on the overrun because it smells rich as fuck. I really don't care.
Yeah, that was the CB. So that it really was. Couldn't get it running right, and I bought these like nice posh sort of like air filters, thinking, oh, this will sort it out. Some like nice pipe across ones. It was like two pots. It was really smart. Looked the business, but just wasn't getting anywhere. Went back to the old box, got it running right. But the bear man, this is me every night in this like channel outside of the house, you know, like fucking revving it
just
up,
echoing down, like
just echoing, bouncing off the houses. And these are like 1930s proper solid houses, and just echoing down the road that we lived on. And this road that we lived on, Garrett Hall Road, in Swinton in Manchester, the road was like unusually wide, like really like mega wide. So the next house was what you would typically sort of like, you know, like on a typical sort of like village sort of like road or whatever. The distance between us and the next house was like double the distance at least. And I later found out from the neighbours that the actual road was, during the war, it was used as an emergency airstrip. So I thought, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So a bit of history to that. Anyway, so this is bouncing down this road like crazy. Neighbour complaints, whatever, and I'm like, I'm trying to get it running. You're like, just give us a break. I've got it.
Leave it alone.
I'm nearly there. Yeah, leave us alone. Like, where else you want me to do it? You know. So anyway, get it running. What a bike! Just did it proper cafe racer style, proper like period cafe racer. drop bars, not clip-ons because you wouldn't have typically had them. Proper drop bars on it.
Oh yeah.
Standard clocks, just sticking up, big old headlight, patina tank, just literally polished it up. Standard seat, wouldn't have been any like, lowered seats or any of that sort of stuff back then. It would have just been drop bars, maybe slightly shortened fenders and stuff like that, but stock fenders. And it looked the business, it really did. And this bike, it's the only time I've ever had a tank slapper. First day I got it, it was running. I got it running. It was running, but it had a sticking valve. And I was like, this thing needs the Italian deco, So I go down to the East Lancs. And if you know the East Lancs, it's basically a massive, wide, straight drag. It's like Route 66 heading towards Liverpool from Manchester, basically. Right. So full of roundabouts, just roundabout after roundabout. And I'm like, I'm going to take it down there and I'm going to absolutely just nail this thing and hope it clears through and get this valve back in action. And so go down, it's like lumpy as hell. And I'm like, all right, this roundabout, turn around, nail it back. Bear in mind, this bike's got the original tires on it and it's a 1970s bike. So these tires are rock hard, misshapen like this, and some idiot decides to come out of the roundabout, absolutely full throttle, crank it open, next gear, bang, full chat, unsticks the valve, full chat, Italian decoat worked, off we go. And then I just got all excited then, and it was the next gear and the next gear, and it's like this all the time. And I was like, all I kept seeing in my head was this clip. There's this video on YouTube, right, of all about cafe races, and it's interviewing these old boys and that, like, oh, it was back in the day, and it was actually filmed in the States. And there's this clip on it where this guy goes, oh, you're not a cafe racer unless you've done a ton on your bike. You've got to go a ton up for it to be a cafe racer. And I've got these old tires on. I've just got an engine that's barely working. And in my head, I just see this clip and I just tuck and go for it. And I'm head down, leant back, and I'm like looking at the speed. We're not even watching where I'm going because there's just nothing there. And just watching the speed, getting slowly closer to 100, hit 100, and then it's like flipping egg. It's the only.
Did you sit up? Did you sit up as soon as you hit 100?
I shit myself. That's what I did. I sat.
No, what I'm saying, like, once you got to 100 and you
did you sit up? I actually just rolled off. I didn't sit up. I was like, right, I've got it there. But as soon as I hit that speed, it did it. It turned out the reason why it did it is because the headstock bearings were just too loose. They needed slightly tightening up, and that caused this at 100 miles an hour. This caused this tank slapper to created that. Absolutely shit myself. Wow, I never done it ever again. And probably
I had
never will.
I had one on my ZX10, mate, and I got a 1987 ZX10. I've told this story loads of times on the podcast. Some people that are listening have heard it all before, but basically my friend's stepson bought it to learn how to drag race. So it was a fairly cheap bike. And he did. He went to Ovington. He's been to Santa Pod. He entered a few of the amateur rounds of the Straightliners competition. That Street Fighter magazine used to host. The story goes that the bike caught some attention to some people because it was surprisingly quick for what it is. Even though it's the original ZX10, it's still an old 87 ZX10. And then I got my hands on it, and so it's got Renfalls on it. It's got obviously about a 4-inch higher ride height, massively shorter cafe racer style with the eBay special £25 eBay style cafe racer seat on the back of it. And I've come off the main road A64 out of York, and I made it towards Stamford Bridge, and I just proper fucking pinned it, and I've caught a little dip in the road next to it. It's going whack whack. And I just like it just literally just started. And at one point, mate, I reckon I was doing, I'm only doing 60. according to anyone that,
obviously.
you know. But mate, it was like fucking holding on to this thing, and obviously my instinct straight away was right, just like literally fingertips on the grips, pretty much, and just slowly wound the throttle off, you know, because I knew straight away. I thought if I just shut the throttle off, it's going to obviously offset the, you know what I mean? It's like
shift along that,
and I just let it do its thing, mate. I let it fucking do its thing. Absolutely fucking shat myself. And then I rang my mate that I got the bike off, because he had it off his stepson after, and then put it back on the road. And he just laughed. He was laughing because he knew exactly. Like, I rang him one day and I'm like, mate, if I could pull out this bike cafe, set off in first, you know. And I'm not dumping the clutch, I'm not slipping the clutch, I'm not doing any of that any of that stuff. As soon as I let the clutch out in second, wind the throttle back on, it literally just hooks up and starts wheeling. And it keeps fucking going. I mean, you know, it's like I say, for an old bike, it's not a modern day 600 will keep up with it, but it's the way it delivers the power. It's that kind of that, you know, like that delay through the carbs where it's not running properly, and then but it just wants to kill you basically. 80s Jap bikes, 80s, 70s Jap bikes, especially 80s, because like after your bike, what they did is all of a sudden they started chucking a shitload of power at a frame that. Did it? I mean, obviously the first ZX10, but technically the first ZX10 was actually it ended up being a sports tourer. It wasn't actually really a super bike, you know. And it was kind of like overshadowed by the Z900, because the Z900 was more affordable, narrower displacement, even, you know, it's a narrow engine, just a narrow bike, and ended up being effectively more popular. But yeah, it's fucking animal, mate. Animal. I love Jap bike, mid 80s, 90s, 80s, 70s Jap stuff. I love it. I love the way it sounds. I love that, you know. And I think, chucking an inline four like a CB engine in a hardtail frame, I think it's fucking cool as fuck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you tend to see more and more of them. I've noticed these days at shows and stuff. I think it's like quite a rarity to see that sort of stuff, and like Triumph choppers and things like that. You know, I don't think there's enough of that. I would have a go at that, but I just don't want to ride a bike where it's got a right foot shift. Like that's it.
No,
just don't want to do it. But I love the look. Absolutely appreciate the bike.
I must admit, I've grown. I mean, I'm not a fan of a stock. Like, my mate's got a BSA, he's got an A10. It's a Gold Star replica, so, you know, it very much looks like a Goldie. And all I said to him, you know, it is an incredible looking bike. But I'm like, mate, I just want the engine and the frame. I want the engine, frame, wheels. I said, I'll hack the back off that. And he's like, you're a fucking animal. I'm like, I know. I said, I will as well. I said, I would literally hack the back. And the thing is, like, I would video it, right? And I would send the video to the BSA Owners Club. I would send it, all of it. I'd be like that. like fucking, you know, and I'd say, you know, drop your comment below, like, okay. Because it's like, that's what I do, because I'm an idiot. But yeah. No, but there's I don't know if you follow Simon from Mint Customs. He's currently doing building a Royal Enfield,
right?
One of the 650 Intercept. Well, he's taken us, because it was crazy, because I was talking to a friend of mine who has a 650 Interceptor, like standard, you know, one of the new ones. And I said to him, I was like, mate, that engine would look incredible in a hardtail, like skinny, tight, narrow frame. And then all of a sudden, Simon's doing, you know, not that I put it out on the internet, it was just a conversation between me and a friend. And all of a sudden, Simon's doing one, and he's a good, you know, he's obviously, you know, he's won some awards. He's, you know, he's been invited down to the bike shed, and, you know, he's good at what he does. And obviously, then when you see someone that really is good at what they're doing it, you're like, yeah, it looks so right. I've got the idea of a straight twin, you know, like, because obviously, you know, the Triumphs and the BSAs, and, you know, but slanted forward, I'm not a fan, but like that whole, like, I think it looks cool.
Right, it looks really period, doesn't it? Even if you get like even if you get, because we've got at work at the minute, we've got the Hondas coming in, the new 350s, right? The CB 350s, and
Yeah.
they're just like a single upright twin, and obviously it looks like a modern engine, but
Yeah.
it's still classic looking at the same time.
Yeah.
And it just gives it that vertical upright positioning.
Yeah.
It just gives it that vintage sort of look straight away, doesn't it?
It does.
You know, like
It does.
leaning forward, like, oh, you think sports bike, whatever. But
Yeah.
you know, like this, and it's just a chopper or whatever, and or a Harley, I should say. But yeah, these people do need to do these projects, you know, to open up new ideas to people, because I think, you know, and I'm a sucker for it as well. So narrow-minded in like one direction, a lot of the time being influenced by other people. I think just you know, that's how we work. But you then get these people, like you say, Simon, there just taking on. Actually, no, he suggested something there, and I'm going to run with it and do it because nobody else has done it. And
Yeah,
that's, you know, if he wants to stand out because he's done it, great, fair play. You know, fair enough.
yeah. I mean, I'd say it was, you know, when I was talking, like, say, my friend that has an Inceptor, and then all of a sudden I see that, you know, I see that Simon's done.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think he's done it in a. I can't. He's done it in a thick gauge frame. So it's like it proper is a chunky looking thing.
Yeah.
But the point being is, it's like that. I think like the fact is like people will be silly to not look at the new Royal Enfields, like, because they're out there, they're affordable. I mean, you can pick on the road for like $2,000 at a push. You know, the average price for a 3-4 year old 650 Interceptor is like $3,000, and the fact is that they're out. You know, they're out there, and you know, you go and get yourself a 350 Bullet for 1,800 quid. I mean, obviously, a lot of people might not want to build a 350 Bullet, but like, I'm all down for the small CC stuff, man. I mean, like, literally, to say I've got a ZX10 in the shed that just needs an MOT and it's ready to go. But I'm more excited now about rebuilding my 125 because, you know, I've got homemade foot clutch, hand shifter. You know, I haven't done obviously, I haven't done like a jockey shift. Like, I've done it in the same format, as in it's straight off the shifter. But my shifter is like comes up past the tank, which obviously, as you know, most people would do it on a pendulum, so there isn't a lot of travel. You know, mine's it's absolutely ludicrous. It's like it's literally, oh mate, full on, right? But what I did is again, I've told this story loads of times, but what I did is I did like deliberate bends in the tube. So because it's only a 125, it's so narrow. I've got a bend that comes backwards that when I shift up into second, it just misses my leg. And then obviously what I then had to do is I then had to bend the top forward. So it kind of, some people have gone, well, why have you got this S-shaped bend? I'm like, well, it actually allows me to get more of a throw without having to physically move my arm massively further. Do you know what I mean? It weirdly worked. Like it don't ask me how, but it did. But what I did is I literally took the original spline off the gear shifter and I literally just welded this fucking solid tube into it. I welded a 13 mil loop, hoop end of a spanner onto the frame. So I pushed it literally up against the spline, pushed it in, and that was my support because obviously you got this extra bit of weight. And then I bent a piece of tube and I took a 13 mil spanner, cut each end off, and I obviously 13, it had to be number 13. And so I got the open end on one end and I got the hoop end, and that's literally was my limiter. So as I shift, I can't overshift. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like
so I literally, I made, yes. And the point being is like, this again is like, I'm in a tiny little shed, not knowing how to weld, and off you go, you know, kind of going back to like what we were talking about earlier. But like I say, I'm looking forward to getting back out on it because like where I live, there's loads of speed cameras. You know, everyone's submitting. We all know that everyone's fucking using the dash cam footage to report you because they don't like the way you've gone past them. And the ZX10 was costing me just as much to run as the car. And it just, at the end of the day, it pulled like 90 plus in first gear. It wanted to kill you. And you know, it's just, it took the fun away. I like chase, like, so I love B. Like, I jump on a B road, even on a 125, and I fucking hang off it. I got a set of like mini apes on it, and like a hand shifter, and there's this fucking fat waddly dude hanging off a fucking side of a 125. It's like I'm doing 65 mile an hour at best. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the fuck? It don't fucking matter. Yeah,
we're loving it,
just
though,
loving
aren't
it.
we? Yeah. No, that's what it's about. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, why do we ride bikes? You know, it's just for what they have to offer. You know, it's just
Yeah,
they might sit there, might look pretty, but it's all about the riding it. You know, and it's I don't think anything beats it.
no,
It's
no,
yeah, and I mean, I've got, like I said before, I've got an apprentice, and these little CB, he's just doing his CB. He's just doing his what do you call it, CBT, and
yeah,
he's doing it on Sunday, in fact. So he's like, oh, I've just got a KTM, and he picked up that for cheap. It was like a 2024. Picked it up for absolutely next to nothing because they've obviously like fallen off the cliff and they're going downhill. Like financially in that. So anyway, so he picks up a bargain, and it's like a brand new bike. So he said, well, I'm going to keep that for a year, and then I'm going to get something like a 400. So I'm like, well, why don't you get one of those CB 350s? Because it's like brand new. You know, bear in mind this is brand new bike. It's £3,000. It's around about £3,000. And it looks like Cafe Racer straight off the bat, just different bars. And he slowly, I've noticed after talking to me and whatnot, he's one of these, hasn't got a clue. He'd never picked up a screwdriver, literally never picked up a screwdriver until he started working with me. And he's that, green, So he's now starting to like look at bikes, like, oh, what can I do to it? How can I change it? How can I make it mine? And he's looking at it differently. It's not, it's how is it going to ride? Going for a ride is going for a ride. You could be on anything, but he's looking at it differently now, which is cool to see. It's kind of like rubbing off on him, I think. But
it's addictive, isn't it?
I remember when he saw the. He'd like never properly heard a Harley before, he'd never sort of like sat next to one and like properly experienced it. And I took the 66 shovel into work and started up on the way home. And I could tell he was like excited for it because come five to 5 and he's gone. He's like the wind, he's gone. I'm home. I'm getting home. I'm getting my dinner for, mum's got it ready on the table. But this day he's like, hanging around. I can tell he's like, come on, get your helmet on. I want to get on. I want to just listen to it and then go home. So start it up, kickstart it with full big whack of throttle after it as well. And he was like, holy shit. Like,
how many kicks?
First kick.
I love it. Love it.
No.
It couldn't have gone any better, could it? It couldn't have gone any better.
I knew how to start that bike. Down to good tuning, I put it down to. No, it was an eye opener for him. Yeah, and it was like, wow,
yeah,
right. Man. I didn't know bikes could be like that, And this was just straight shotguns out the back. Probably seen a picture, and it was just open pipes. No baffles, 1200cc jumping down it, and it was bear in mind it's a good echo in this building that we're at work, and we're inside, and he was like, oh, holy crap. But so yeah, it'd be nice to see him do something, something of his own, and start doing some stuff like that. That'd be pretty cool. I think
it.
If we rewind, I think so. I went from sports to 2003, then I went to this CB for briefly. Like, it was brief. I got it done. I got it riding. I think I rode it around town like a handful of times. Never really went on a proper ride with it. I don't know why. I just didn't. It just never happened. Probably because it was fire breathing out the back of it permanently.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculously loud. I've actually got permanent hearing damage from that bike. Like not even kidding. So yeah, don't stand on the right hand side of me. So then from that, I just like, right, I'm getting rid of it. And at this point, I got another Sportster again. It's all I could afford. You know, got another Sportster. But this time I was like, I'm going to get one that's just like generic Sportster, even an 83, you can probably pick it up a bit cheaper and have myself like a little bit of cash to do something to it. Did some like sort of T-bars on it. Tried out this like new sort of like UV lacquer. This guy wanted to try out on the paint. On that one, I didn't paint it myself, but I wanted to like have like a flat old school sort of color sort of thing that you'd see on like, I don't know, a Morris Minor, you know, like proper base coat sort of flat color, make it look older than it was. And at this point, I'm starting to get that urge for the old Harley, you know, like that old era. And up until then, it was like I just wanted a Harley. You know, it didn't matter. It could be brand new. But I was told some sound advice, and I genuinely think it is. I had someone tell me, if you're going to get a Harley, get a proper one. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, like, basically, once it comes off a carburetor, don't even bother. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you go and stand next to a bike that's a Harley that's got a carb. It's solid mounted. The bars, the bike's shaking on the floor, like nearly falling off its side stand, if it could.
Yeah, man.
You
None of this rubber mounted shit.
Exactly. You go in the house, you come back and it's traveled 4 feet down the driveway, and you've got a great big like scratch mark down the drive. You know, what's that about? But that's it. It's raw, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what makes them so fantastic. And then you've got all this rubber mounted crap, and it's not crap. It's just different, and it's modern. It's like they've gone offensive, becoming cool and classic and raw, and becoming like a new modern era bike. And that's when, for me, it started really changing with Harley. And so then I started getting this urge for this like classic Harley stuff. And then I realized this is expensive. Like this is ridiculous.
No doubt.
What is this? What is this about? You know. So then, where did I go from there? So I had this Sportster, and I actually went. I got rid of that, and I got. I went without a bike for a little bit, and then we moved. So we moved from Manchester. So I had my little girl Eleni, and then I was like, do you know what? Because I could not afford to buy a house where I grew up in Manchester. It was expensive, put it that way. So I couldn't afford to buy a house there as much as I would love. I think everyone would like to, you know, continue to live where they grew up, you know, because they know it like the back of their hand, they know everyone, and it's, you know, it's familiar, isn't it? But I couldn't do it. So we ended up getting a house in different area of Manchester that we could afford. But I wouldn't necessarily, all of a sudden the picture changes. I wouldn't like my daughter to grow up where we were, in particular school-wise, like kids, you know, flipping kids are going down the street on back wheel of a motocross bike, you know, no helmet on, you know, giving the bees on the way past. You know, I'm like, no, I don't want this. You know, I just didn't want it. And I was like, I need to make a big decision. I worked in the most fantastic place I've ever worked in my life, on bikes still, and I wish still to this day I was there. But I worked with the best people ever. You know, like the whole gig was absolutely the dream, you know. But I was willing to give it up to we moved to Cumbria, which is where Tessa's family's from, and she always wanted to move back home or closer to a family, I should say. She moved about a little bit when she was younger, but pretty much most of her life they grew up in KO or Kirk Oswald in the Cumbria. And she went to uni in Manchester. She stayed there afterwards, and we met there. That's how we met. And I was like, well, you know, we both we both, although Tessa was kind of from the country, I always had this thing about me, and I think I get this from my mom, is that I always wanted to get away from people. I always wanted to get away from the busy lifestyle, and I love that idea of just being in the middle of nowhere and just being sort of in your own sort of space. Totally get that and love it and what it's all about. And I was like, right, this is it. This is the opportunity. We're going to do it. I pushed it. We did the house up. We made quite a decent amount of money on the house, and it made it possible. And I said, right, we're doing it. We're definitely doing it. This is it. This is the opportunity. We moved up here. Best thing I've ever done. You know, she's
You got some good roads up there as well, haven't you?
Oh, flipping heck, yeah. I mean, I had people. There's a lad, Craig, actually, that I used to work with. Spot on lad from Manchester, and he's been up to like Devil's Bridge and stuff like that. That's not too far from here, like just knocking around, sort of like Yorkshire, sort of Kendal, Lake District crossover area, and he's been up to that. So he's familiar with the area, but then he'd never been, never been up what they call Hartside Pass, right? And I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's
No.
It's got, it used to have a massive bikers cafe, and it's just not just like a normal cafe where you get a load of people, just happen to get a load of people going there on bikes. I mean, this thing's like a proper bikers cafe, you know. It's got levers hung up. It's got benches with like helmets, like chainsaw cut into each end of the benches. It's on the peak of this. It's on the peak of around here. They'd call it a fell, but it's, you know, to me and you, it's probably a mountain. And it's right on top of this mountain. And
it's still there.
The road that leaves. Oh, well, the cafe's not. So the cafe burnt down.
Fucking hell.
Someone had the bright idea of burning it down. But this thing is on the top of this mountain on the road that goes. It's kind of like taking the back road route, you know, cross country rather than getting on the motorway somewhere. And it takes you to Alston. And what a road! Honestly, you need to, because you're about 3 hours away. Did you say?
Yeah, it's about 3 hours, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, you just need to do them 3 hours for that. Probably what is about. You could do it in half an hour, easy. You could do it in half an hour, but maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. But right from the bottom, you start at Penrith and you just head off down this road, and it just starts getting better and better and better and better. And you get to like, you know, like, have you seen the like you probably see Top Gear and stuff where they go like the Swedish out, and it's like just turning back on themselves going down the mountain. Yeah, it's like that. There's a section that's like that. It's not, don't run for long, but it's back on itself all the way up this mountain. And it's insane. There's nothing else that I know of in the UK like it. And it's one of the top biker sort of like roads in the UK. When I looked it up. Yeah. So look it up, Hartside Pass. And like I said, the cafe burnt down, and it was under plans at the minute to rebuild it. But whoever does it has to do it as a bike cafe. They're like, they've set the rules of that, what you have to do with it.
Yeah. That's good.
But yeah, awesome roads, absolutely awesome roads. Some are bloody awful, but you know they are everywhere, as in like, you know, condition of them and stuff. But once you get up there, the views, like you can see the whole entire land in which you live in. It's great. For me, it's like, have you seen Caleb Owens?
I think so.
In Crow Customs, yeah. Have you heard of him?
Is he traveling? Is he a guy that's traveling the world at the moment on a chopper?
I'm not sure actually. I've not really caught up with stuff for a while, but he had a video come out with 805 beer or something like that over in the States. It's like California sort of hilltops, like round that sort of area. And he,
so you got the are you on about the dragon? is it called the Dragon's Tail? And that road that goes up over the back of LA, and then
Yeah,
you got that
yeah, I
iconic
think. Oh,
cafe
yeah,
that's up there as well.
yeah. And it's like just what he calls like a canyon run. You know, just
Yeah,
in
yeah,
between these mountains, and you
yeah, man.
just you and the road and the bike, and it's fantastic.
Sick.
It reminds me of that. But you know, it's a shame that there's not more, you know, like chopper stuff. Why is it all down south? Why is it
Yeah.
all in the south? I get that's where the sun is. I get it, but I'm telling you now, nowhere better in this country than up here when the sun's out. You
Oh
can't
yeah. I mean,
predict it.
the
That's the
roads
only,
up this way. The roads up this way are definitely better. Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know. I've always said the same. Like even like if you're into the MC culture, you know, there's still even that stuff. There's a lot more going on down south.
yeah,
But I think there is like obviously you know like spoke earlier like you know I'm a co-host at the on the podcast for the Custom Culture Blast
yeah,
stuff, which is that's been going I think 14 years, and then the lad called Jake who now bought rights to it, and obviously we this year I got invited to be a co-host, but the idea was is that no one else to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but no one else in the UK is actually got a dedicated podcast to a custom show.
right, yeah,
So every month we do an episode where we talk about obviously stuff that's going on, like because obviously the idea for next year is like bigger, or
yeah,
maybe not so much bigger, but a lot more happening. Obviously, we've
yeah,
introduced
yeah,
the budget biker build off, which is, which obviously that's kind of been left to me to move forward with, and very much again,
yeah,
like saying earlier, like is to push people out of the comfort zone and to give, because is to give people the opportunity that might not have the budget. I mean, I ain't got a big budget, and also
yeah,
to give people that do have the budget to kind of give them the opportunity to get back to where it actually all started from. Because I
yeah,
don't think anybody really has ever built a bike with deep pockets. You might have
no,
grown to it, you might have progressed. Like you say, obviously, a lot of people generally just start at a 125, 16 years
yeah,
old, or they'll, there's very few that build their own bike with deep pockets for the first time, unless they're having it built and they're paying
yeah,
someone to build it. But
yeah,
usually you find them people are, they've generally middle-aged, or or it's kind of like their retirement gift for themselves, or
yeah,
do you know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean, or they haven't got time to build it themselves,
Yeah, totally.
but
Yeah, I'm going to splash out. I'm going to treat myself for this one time
yeah,
and do something like that. Yeah, totally get it. Yeah,
yeah.
uh,
But like I say, but saying, even though the North doesn't have maybe so much of a big scene, but like, I mean, where Lloyd's based, there's quite a few. I mean, look at how big Last Week of July is on YouTube and their social media presence, and yet they're
yeah,
all based in Donny, again, not too far from
yeah,
where
yeah,
you would have originally come from, and not far from me.
yeah,
I live up between
yeah,
Hull and York, and so they are out. We are out there, and
yeah, yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
like I say,
totally. Yeah,
but I
it's
think it is
like
growing though.
I think it definitely is. I think there's a lot more people now approaching this niche sort of chopper scene as well. That because I think like you get Harleys and they're so widely spread, but then you've got
Yeah,
choppers, and then you've got like the really hardcore sort of old school vintage choppers as well. And it's kind of like set different categories, really, aren't they? Or
yeah,
but it's kind of like gets hard. What I'm getting at is it gets harder and harder and harder to find these people in
yeah.
like areas that you live. I tell you now, there's one guy that I ride with, Florin, and he's become a really good mate, and he's probably watching out actually, but he lives 20 minutes away. Absolute godsend. I genuinely moved here. It was the only downside to moving. It was the only downside. There was no one, absolutely no one, likewise, that was interested, in that niche little market that I'm interested in. And
Mm.
sometimes you just want to be able to go out for a ride with someone else and go for a chat, and go for a beer and whatever, and it's a different experience, isn't it? Rather
Mm.
than just going out by yourself. Sometimes that can get a little bit lonesome, can't it? So and
Yeah.
and going to things like shows and stuff like that. I mean, he's been there every single time. Are we going to, are we going to the hookup? Yeah, spawn. I'm there. We're going to the trip out. Yeah. And for us, it genuinely takes, I only know a couple of lads that are more north than we are in the country on choppers. And it genuinely takes more miles and more time for us to get to a show that's anywhere in the south than it would if you were to come from like Berlin, Amsterdam, anywhere close to that sort of corner. And we went to the trip out, and that's where that was the last show I took the 66 to before it went. And there was lads there from Berlin, and I chatted to them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's taking us like X amount of miles. Can't remember what it was now." I was like, "Just done double that one way." So it's just ridiculous. And it's some dedication.
Crazy, because England's not that big. Not really.
No, exactly. It's like, it's not that big. I'm looking at the map going, surely not. Like, it can't be. But then, honestly, I got invited to go to, I didn't end up doing it. And again, because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford the ferry. I got invited to put the bike in the matchlit motorcycle show in just past Amsterdam. So it was like, I worked it out. It was 90 mile from here to Newcastle. No problem. Like, just do it in just over an hour or whatever, hour and a half. So that's nothing. 90 mile. It's like just over one tank of fuel. Yeah. Get on the ferry over there, overnight over to there, get off at Amsterdam. And it was another 90 mile to the show.
Yeah.
I was like, that's 180 mile. Like, when you actually think about the amount of time that you sat in the seat, in the saddle, riding the bike, nothing at all. Like, you could get to Manchester, you could get a little bit past Manchester in the same amount of saddle time, So, and mileage as well. It's like 120 miles from here to Manchester. And that's considered the north. It isn't. I've come to learn. It's not. I thought I was from the north. Apparently, I'm not. Everyone says. It's like,
because you're a bit lower than York, aren't you?
I'm like on the border of Scotland.
No, I mean,
so like York's
Manchester. I mean, like when you're at Manchester.
Manchester's
slightly lower than York.
Yeah. So sorry, yeah. And then I was like, I'm from the north, whatever. And then I was like, yeah, maybe there is a reason why when you head towards Cumbria, it quite literally says the north,
Yeah.
So okay. Anyway, so it takes a long time to get to these shows, and it's some serious riding. We went to the 101 show good couple of years back now. Actually, it's when I got my first.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get down there.
Yeah, good show actually, really good show. Ran by some really good people, and make a good atmosphere as well.
I'm potentially going to be podcasting down there.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm going to be grabbing some people walking past, and like I say, I'm just trying to like find I think all being well, they're going to find the space for me basically.
Yeah.
Again, it might not happen, but again, it's Margate, isn't it? But it's like all the way down to Margate.
Yeah, exactly. Even for you, it's like, flipping out, that's quite a bit of a journey. But then we went. I've only been there once. It was a good couple of years ago now. It was when I had the 79 Ironhead, and it was the first big trip I'd done on it. Sorry, since finishing it. Me, Florin, again, just us two.
How was it with the Ironhead?
Absolutely spot on.
Personally, I think one of the best looking engines. It's actually my favourite engine. Look wise, it's my favourite engine.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually quite miss it. To tell the truth, I actually quite miss it. It's different in the sense that you've not got as much I'm going to say adjustability with it in that sense. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of restricted a little bit. Like you can't run a separate gearbox and whatnot because obviously it's a Sportster.
Yeah.
it's a cool bike still,
but they're
it's
not
like
they're not known for reliability though, are they?
well,
Like the
I don't know
Americans
why,
say it's the
because
bike that they cut their teeth on. That's what the American, like you hear like, a lot of podcasts I listen to. Everyone like generically the kind of the story, like the pattern in the story from America is
yeah,
the
yeah,
Ironhead is the bike that they cut teeth on. It's the first bike that they truly build,
right,
type of thing. You know that again. That's just going off of podcasts and interviews
yeah,
you see. But like for me, like what I like about the Ironhead is I like the cylinder heads. I like how they look, how they resemble a bit of a shovel. I like this. I like the
totally,
cylinders because the cylinders kind of they almost kind of like twist, don't they? Like the way the fins are, like the way
yeah,
they're laid out. And then I really like the narrow bottom end of an Ironhead. I like that. So I like the bottom end of a
yeah,
Sportster, and especially
yeah,
like when people cut them and make them try and look a bit like a shovel bottom end.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think they're actually like aesthetically like really nice. And looking back, it's probably one of my top sort of ranking bikes that you know I've liked compared to others. And I've had more issues with, I've had head gaskets go and stuff like that on the Evo Sportster, like the, you know, the 2003 and stuff. The Ironhead, it was solid. Like it had miles on it. It wasn't like it was freshly built or anything. It had miles on it, and it was down to Margate and back. It was an 18-hour trip riding down to Margate in a Wanner. Got there at 2 o'clock in the morning. Set off ridiculously early. Can't remember when it was. Got there, parked the bikes at we were staying at Premier Inn. Cost me an arm and a leg. What that was about, I don't know. Cost me an absolute arm and a leg to stay there. So that was all my money gone. And we got there and we're like, what are we gonna do? Because I was nervous. I had that whole thing of being nervous about the bike being stolen and stuff. And I get there and you're like, you mentioned the last week of July, lads, and they've got all their bikes there. And there's a great big chain running through all the back wheels and that. And it's like, our bikes aren't going anywhere. And I look at Flora and I'm thinking, we haven't bought anything. Like, what are we going to do? Just threw them in the bush. Just like literally, it's this big bush. And I was like, I'm sticking it in here. Stuck it in the bush. It was spot on. Following morning, went to the show, drank far too much. And it was an awesome show. So yeah, you need to get yourself down there. And anyone else that's not been actually,
I'm open to get down.
Dean that sets it up, he's top lad, and he sets up a really good show. And I think he's trying to bring what the sort of lads have in like in the States, you know, with their sort of shows that they have and the way they run them and stuff like that. I think he's trying to bring a lot of that across. It's a really good show, and I hope to get back to it in the future, and hopefully maybe with some Larl Shortys stuff as well. Maybe have a stall rather than go on the bike, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be, you know, no doubt, Jake would be listening. He'd probably want you to hopefully attend, hopefully get you down to the custom culture as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I actually got offered to have a stall at the 101 last year, and I just said, look, and again this year with other shows as well, and I've just look, I'm not there yet. I know I'm not there yet. I'm not producing enough stuff. Like, how embarrassing is that to set up a stall and it's like, yeah, got one or two things here, you know. It's like, no, it's not good. But I want to be ready. I want to do it when I'm ready, basically.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, that's it, and that's like say that's
like
all that matters, isn't it?
Yeah, that's like another step up. You know, like I'm building myself up at the minute with what I'm doing, and I'm enjoying the journey with it. You know, I've always said to Tess that, you know, there's no stress with this. It's just me doing what I like doing. I mean, we've not even spoke about how all this came about, but pretty much it came about from doing my own bikes and saying, right, well, I don't really want to buy stuff from a catalog. I don't want a catalog bike, you know, because somebody else can build that bike.
Yeah.
I want to build a bike that I like. It's for me, but it's unique. I like that uniqueness about it. And it drags you into that whole bike sort of category, you know, whether it be a chopper or whether it be a cafe racer or whatever. You've got to have something on there that says, you know, yeah, you know, that is unique, because you can't buy it from a catalog. So then all of a sudden I start doing some stainless work that isn't like the usual, I'm just going to get some sheet metal, I'm going to draw a pattern on it and cut it out and weld it up. I was doing stuff that was like more digitally designed, and then, you know, mass produced. Well, I say mass produced, but I mean like on a lot built by a large scale manufacturer. For little old me in the garage, you know. And the reason, literally, how it all started was I had the bike, the iron head. Started with the iron head, actually. So I wanted to do. It was already a chopper. First chopper I ever had. It was already a chopper, and I was like, I need to make it mine. I'm never gonna buy, as nice as it is, I'm never gonna buy someone's bike and call it my own. Never gonna do that. So I think it's wrong, personally, to be honest with you, especially if you're like trying to get credit for it. I think
that's just bad, isn't it? Yeah,
I think that's wrong. But I was like, right, what can I do? What can I do with it? Change the tank, respray it, nice, like a candy deep sort of blue. I did the fender, chopped bits off the sissy bar. It was like, okay, I'm going to keep the sissy bar, but I'm going to like change it up. Made my own. So I started getting into like 2D CAD drawing. Again, just self-taught. And up to this point, I've been like teaching myself. It's lasted, you know, it's not just been a short phase of something, it's lasted. And I've been teaching myself and got the software, got the equipment. And then I was like, right, okay, I'm starting to get to a point where I can physically draw something now that's going to be useful. And then from that, send it to someone and say, hey, can you cut me this out? Yeah, no problem. It'll cost this much. Great. And I'm ordering like one of them for my bike, and it's costing me an arm and a leg.
I was about to say, I bet that's not cheap.
Well, no, it's not. So it's cost me an arm and a leg. So get a number plate bracket made with like my initials in it, and I work in the pit light and blah blah blah. I'm doing stuff like that, and ignition covers, and there's one up there, but there's like my mates growing up, everyone used to call me AP. So obviously it's just my initials, but because there used to be two Alexes like in the friendship group, so to speak.
Yeah.
So everyone used to just call me AP. And I was like, and that kept running. I thought, oh, I'm going to stick AP on the bike because it's kind of like my initial, my stamp on the bike. You know, if someone's got it in years to come and it's still on there, they're like, you know, oh, it's kind of like a trademark, you know. At the time, that's how I saw it. So I built this like ignition cover, which was like embossed with like the initials on it and stuff, and started to do these little bits. And then I'm getting into like the TIG welding at this point as well. And the bikes are like getting to a higher standard, shall we say. And I did that. I took that to the 101. That was like the year they attended that. And that felt really special, you know, to be able to do that and then to have it picked to go on the show. And for people, that was my first experience with the whole chopper stuff, of people turning around and going, you know, that's like, you've done a good job with that. That's really cool for an iron head, because then I realized what I was unaware of, and I don't know, still to this day, I don't understand why it's there, but it's just an iron head. Well, it's not a shovel head, it's not a pan head. Well, yeah, it is an iron head, but why does that matter? You know what I mean? So, but we won't get into that. That's another story. So we do all that, and then at this point, I'm like, right, okay, and I'm designing more and more stuff, and get the next bike, and I went from that to the shovel, to the 66. I went a little bit without a bike, and I was like, I'm gonna get a shovel, but I really like the generator ones, and took the plunge spent far too much money I didn't have. To be open with you, I didn't have the money. Borrowed some of the money, but properly dived into it. Did a ground up build, my first ever ground up build, and it turned out to me, it was absolutely amazing. What an achievement! It was that moment in my life where, you know, like you see it in films where like someone's dad turns around to him and says like, I'm really proud of you, like for what you've done. That was it. Now, you know, when I'd done that bike, that was it. You know, made all the exhaust. It looked OEM, but it wasn't. You know, it's 2-piece. It wasn't 3-piece for the front cylinder. It had squish pipe. It went through the frame. It missed engine, missed the frame. It was perfect.
Are you a fan of squish pipes?
I am, yeah. I actually really like that OEM.
I'm not a fan of them.
You know, no, there's something about it because it looks kind of like, it just looks right with the bike for me. But again, different. You know,
yeah, that's it. That's it. You know,
to me, I loved it, and I was like, it was a challenge because I could just get a pipe and I could just go around the frame and I could just go off down to the back with it, and it'd be a piece of piss, right? It'd be a piece of piss. But going through that engine and making it look like the original OEM setup and going through the frame and getting it right first time, that was an achievement.
Yeah,
like, I am proud. I can actually, that is the one thing I'll actually stand up and say, that was the best thing I did on that bike, because that was hard. Anyway, so I get that bike done, and my dad's like really proud of us, and that was a good moment, and never experienced that before, you know, as harsh as that sort of may sound. But
no,
it was
that's
like
the old school parenting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that kind of is how it was, you know. But it was good, and we got that bike done, and then Larl Shortys at this point starts to become an idea, because again, I'm doing stuff on the bike, more and more stuff like little tank mounts. So start off with a bit of cardboard and just cut it out, get it sat on the bike, and then I'm like, well, instead of cutting this mount manually, I'm just going to draw it up in 2 minutes, and as long as I get the measurements right, as long as I get the micrometers, as long as I get the verniers out and measure it right, again, getting that eye out and making sure it's right, it'll be spot on. Get them cut. It might cost me an arm and a leg to get them cut, but if I get several bits cut at once, it becomes cheaper. So I did that, and I built lots of different things on that bike using 2D CAD. And that's then where the idea of Larl Shortys came. And I did let me air filter. I got on that bike, I was like, I cannot put up with this S&S Super E teardrop filter. Like I can't get on the brake.
Jabbing me on the inside of the leg.
Exactly. I don't want that all the way down to Margate, do I? Do you know what I mean? So I'm going along, and I'm like, I need to do something about this. So then the air filter came about, and that became the first product that I started selling. And it was like, well, I'm going to do it for myself, but why don't I do like 20 of them? And then this Larl Shortys came about, and then I started selling them. And to my amazement, after a little bit of like getting the word out there, it started taking off, and it started growing and growing, and it's grown into what it is now. I've got like started off with a Super E filter, CV. I ran a CV, sorry. I went from a Super E, then ran a CV carburetor, sorry. And then I started doing the CB, and did the CB. And this point, I'm like, I'm not even running it, but I just bought one, mocked it up with I didn't have 3D print this time, just a 2D laser machine. And that was purely just for making prototypes of flat 2D parts and doing some laser marking on the stainless to put like the initials of the Larl Shortys on, so the LS, and that's pretty much that's what that machine's doing. And it's doing stuff like you probably won't be able to see this, but it's doing stuff like
you can see that shovel.
It's just like stuff like that, just custom stuff. Like I got an order yesterday from a guy, Clive, on eBay, because I put some of the stuff on eBay as well, because it just helps bring in a little bit of custom. You can't always rely on the one platform, especially
No.
Instagram. Well, and Clive sends us a message, "Oh, I want this," and spot on. So that's another one in the bag, so to speak, and that's pretty much what that machine is doing. And then I was like, well, I can't just keep doing 2D stuff. I've got to evolve. I've got to, again, putting that extra tier onto the skill set. I was like, there's only so much stuff you can do out of flat stainless or whatever it is. I need to evolve. So then this thing over here, the 3D printer, as you've seen it, what a piece of equipment that is. Like, for anyone that's like debating getting one and trying some stuff out, just do it, because what you can do is like incredible. But to do 3D printing, I needed to learn how to do 3D CAD. Different ball game. Take 2D here, 3D CAD's like up here, and it's only adding one more axis to it. But it's a different game. Again, started teaching myself a little bit. Thankfully, and I think it's been a massive push actually, is I started to work with a lad who'd come out of university and he just so happened to do CAD throughout the whole entire university course. And he gave us the pointers on, you want this software, don't bother with anything else. Look at designers and using this. And he's doing motorsport engineering. So it's going to be, you're getting good advice, Okay, so, cutting a long story short, get that, start showing us some tips. He said, flipping that, like, you've grabbed that really quick. And he said, you know why? He said, because when I was at university, you start off with like 3D CAD straight off the bat. And he said, you don't do 2D, but 2D is the stepping stone.
Gives you the 3D fundamentals, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Gives you the fundamentals.
If you can do 2D, you can do 3D with a little bit of extra tuition. And that's where it went. And then very quickly, I'm up at R5 every morning on the laptop. Probably not the best time to start designing stuff or prototyping stuff and making 0.1 foul of the adjustment on stuff, but I've got used to it. I get up at R5, start nailing that whilst the pre-workout kicks in, come in the garage in the little space I've got, smash a workout out before going to work, and that's just the way I do it now. And it's that family time, work time balance, and that's what I've had to do, because it'd been noted, that you're spending a little bit too much time with the work stuff and not all on it. And I was like, you're totally right. And
that's the hardest challenge, right? It's like I've said this before. It's like, I think the first challenge is getting things up and running, but then with the success of it becoming up and running becomes the fact that you're spending time doing it, and then obviously it'd be different if you were generating enough money to drop the other job, for example, if that was something you decided you wanted to do. So there's always, I just think life in general is just about balance. It really, really, really is. And the balance, the tide's always going to shift, or the wind's going to change, and it's about trying to bring that balance back in. You're never going to get it, but you got to try.
Yeah, totally. And you just got to do what you've got to do, and that's what I have to do. And I kind of got used to it and kind of enjoy it, and I never thought when I was like 18, I'd turn around and say one day I quite enjoy getting up at R5 in the morning, but
no, I hate it.
I do. I quite like
it. Like, no,
but
that's the discipline, right? How old am I? I'm 33, mate. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just about turning 35, so maybe it's something that happens when you're just about turning 35.
Maybe it's I'm a night owl. I'm a night owl. But like you said, but the thing is though, is like listening to you already, like you can you can tell, like, you can already tell that you can kind of tell that it's like an element of like discipline. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that, the fact that you set off to learn something, to teach yourself, to go the hard way about it, but to stick at doing it.
Yeah.
And then obviously, that's obviously you're able to back that up with disciplining yourself and being hard enough on yourself to carry on. It's like, that's like something like me with this. It's like, I've said this loads of times, and I've said, like, success, like, what would you say, like, how is it I said? I'm trying to think about how I say it. Like, when you're vibing on something, like when when you're winning, like, that's it. Passion, like, passion doesn't come in when you're winning, because when you're winning, you're so busy you're in the moment of you're winning. Passion comes in is like on the days you don't want to do it. That's where, like, because there's some unexplained reason as to why you've got up that morning and gone in the garage, or gone and done whatever it is you're going to do, like that. And that's what I believe. I say, like, passion comes in on the days, like, that's where it matters, because what pushed you to get up and go and do that workout, or work on that bike, or do that bit of software editing, and I think, like, with this, like, for me, with the podcast and everything, like, none of it's easy, like, I don't get massive followings on it and massive engagement, but I carry on because it means something, because I don't find it easy. I think that it's like, I got a point to prove with it, to myself.
It's a challenge, isn't it?
And the thing is, like, I do see where it's heading. I do see what can be achieved with it, and that if you can just inspire one person to want to, like, out of this podcast, if someone realizes that they can effectively teach themselves the fundamentals of 3D printing, that then I kind of feel that the podcast has served its purpose, right? And
totally.
or equally, if someone listens to this podcast and discovers that you have a company called Larl Shortys, like, someone buys something from you, that for me is great. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's just about I mean, I think like you say, nothing that is worth doing is easy, and
no.
Otherwise we'd all be successful, wouldn't we? You know what I mean? Like, we'd all be killing it. And honestly, there's been times where I'm like, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Like, I'm really not. I feel like I'm not going anywhere. I feel like I'm not achieving anything. I'm like, there's days where it's like, oh, flipping heck, no one's bought anything. And then every single week from I started Larl Shortys, I've sold something, and I don't know how. It's still baffles me.
Incredible.
It's like, gets to Sunday, I could be going to bed on Sunday and it goes off, and I'm like, how every week. But for me, it's about the long road of growing it, and it might not grow into something as big as TC Bros or lowbrow customs or anything like that, and it, not that that's necessarily the aim, but I just want to ride out the wave, see where it goes, and I do this to help the family out. That's what I do it for. And that's what I like to be able to go to the shop, and if my daughter wants something, I like to be able to, if she deserves it, I like to have the option of having the money to buy it. Because I'm one of them people. I live from month to month. I'm
exactly the same. I mean, I had a meeting this morning. I mean, I'll tell you after. I don't really want to talk about it right now, but I had quite a bit of a setback today with regards to 666 Customs. So basically, even though this is my podcast, like, I actually have 666 Customs registered as a limited company. And I'm on the journey of having a website, and the website is going to become the website. I'm so excited for the website, because I'm effectively creating a platform that everyone can use. Basically, kind of like a mixture of Instagram and Facebook, but more of a blogging platform. So the fact is that you're going to be able to go on there. You'll be able to create an account on 666 Customs, and you'll be able to blog about what you're doing with your business. And you'll be able to do all of that for free. You won't have to pay to do any of that. Because really, what I believe is going to happen is I believe I'm going to be able to sell advertising to like-minded companies. And it's not that I believe, it's I know it's going to happen, because even though this is very slow moving, it's moving in the right way. People, the fact people are willing to take the time to come on here, and more of the success podcast comes after it's been live. I think I've got to keep it live because then I feel I'm changing it. And I don't think it needs to be changed. I think it's very important to not forget where it started, and how it started, and why it started. I started doing podcasts because I felt that the small hitters out there, the amateur is the wrong word to use, but the self-taught, learning how to do it, the fact that you're willing to put your work out there to the world, knowing full well that it could be ridiculed or not, that takes balls. It takes a lot of guts, and I think that you've earned the right to have your moment in the limelight. Whether I'm only getting maybe 10 people will watch it, but I think that if I'm able to sit here and talk to you, and you're able to tell your story, I think that that's almost like my duty to do that. It's like, if this is something that I'm doing, and also, like, for me, like, I've been very honest with what I'm able to offer to the custom scene. It's like, I'm not a builder. I'm not building bikes. I mean, I do build my own bikes, and I've built 3 bikes, and they're out. Like I said, there's ZX10s there, but it's like, it was being honest about what I have to offer to the culture. It's like, I ain't got a big bank balance to go and build bikes, and I don't have the skill set to do incredible worlds. So what do I have? Well, I'm an annoying fucker that don't shut up. So, like, why not just sit and talk to people, And it's like, 666 Customs was put together as a way to get people onto my YouTube channel to watch me attempt to build shit in my shed. That hasn't really happened yet. It's still not forgotten. That really is a big part of what I'm going to be doing. But it ended up being that, like, some people, I interviewed Zach. That was the first podcast I did. He's a leather seat maker. And then from there, I've had, like, it's crazy because I don't get massive numbers, but I'm still able to get respected people in the culture, do you know what I mean? Like, everybody,
I mean, that's it. I mean, I think for me, like, it was, people say, like, like when you were doing the podcast with Lloyd, right? And you say to him, what was the moment that made you sort of go, like, oh shit, like, this is sort of real? And for me, like, you approaching me to say, hey, I'd love to have you on the podcast, that to me is like, oh, like, okay, right, well, I wasn't expecting that, and it's a big deal, like you thought.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, it's not, but I appreciate it.
It is though. It is, because I like to think I am down to earth and keep it, as it is, and to me this is a big deal because it genuinely means a lot to me. And it's like, all right,
probably like yourself, like I look at it like I'm not a big hit in the podcasting game, so that's kind of why I don't think, like, I can see why obviously it different to you, but, like, I'm thinking, like, I don't even get, I like, the only reason I chase numbers is because I want more people to discover this podcast. I want more people to, like, because to me it's important that people listen to your story. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I need 100,000 followers because I've got to be that person going, look at me, I've got 100,000 followers. I want 100,000 followers because I believe that 100,000 people need to hear your story. That literally, do you know what I mean? Like, it's, like I said, the only reason I registered 666 Customs as a business is because that is where I'm going to build a business. Is I'm going to sell advertising to like-minded companies on this whole platform, which there's so much to it. It's incredible. You know, it's like, I mean, I just can't wait for everyone to experience it. I really can't, because it's very important. So there is parts of it that you're going to be able to somewhat pay to play, but equally, you're going to have full right to all of it for free. Because somewhat like listening to you, like I've never grown up with wealth. You know, I've grown up like when I used to race mini motors in Spain, I used to have to spin my tire. I used to have to spin my tire around the other way to wear the other side out. Like literally, you know, like, you know what I mean? So like, I've always grown, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, I've never gone without, but like, you know, like I said, the 125 having a bed frame for an exhaust, using my missus had changed the biscuit tins. Like, you know, she'd gone from the purple to black or whatever. And it was like, they got chucked out. I was like, well, I can use it as an electric box, you know, and it's, but I think like it, and then obviously it's crazy that how, like, I mean, I built that bike that time round. It was built 9 years ago. Like 9 years ago, I never thought that all of a sudden I'd be sat here talking to people around the world, listening to their stories, hearing how they built stuff, and we all seem to have so much similarities. And it's, you know, I never thought I'd be doing podcasts. Like literally, like if you go on my tattoo, because I work tattoo, I'm a part-time tattooist. There's no pictures of me in any of the like. It's a battle for me to be in front of a camera. It's easy to sit and talk to you because I'm looking at you on the screen. You know, I'm like, all right, you're there. Like, there's not, you know, but like, you know, people go, I've had it. People say to me, oh, you must find it easy. I've told this story loads of times again, but like, you must find it easy in front of a camera. I'm like, man, I don't. Like, literally, I could go on my phone right now and I can show you. Like, I did a video this morning. I'll even show you as well, just to prove it. When I did the video announcing that we were doing a podcast, there is literally, I don't know if you can see it there. Can you see all the same pictures of me? They're not pictures. They're attempts at a video, right? Yeah. And that's 18 months later. And I show that because, like, if I can inspire someone else that struggles to get out of there, like literally, it's just about getting out of your own way, you know. And that's what I've done. You know, it's like that's kind of, I don't have an education to give my kids, so it's like if I can show my kids that their waffling dad can put on and keep going. And like really believe in it, like
go out,
you know what I mean? Like it really will become a thing. It would, you know, I've spoke to people like, and I've mentioned Mark Zuckerberg, and they've gone, you can't compare yourself to Mark Zuckerberg. So I'm not comparing myself to Mark Zuckerberg. I'm making a point that if he did what he did, what's stopping me from doing something similar? Yeah. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Do
you know what I mean? Exactly, like it's very important. Like honestly, like when you discover the website, when it's up and it's not done yet, you'll know exactly what I mean. You'll know exactly what I mean when you have access to everything for free, or there will be certain bits that make your life easier that I'm going to be able to give you. But it's up to you whether you want to spend that little bit of money. Then again, it's going to be very reasonable. You know, it's going to be because I am a person that can't afford to chuck money at everything. You know, so that's why it's taking so long. So I'm having a website completely custom made, like completely custom made. I've not been able to use any of the templates like GoDaddy or Squarespace simply because
I already have the need.
Yeah, absolutely right. So already the website has the infrastructure to support 100,000 users already.
Right.
Like bloggers, like people that are going to write articles about the custom culture scene, whether it be somebody like yourself that wants to advertise your business, and this is what I like. Yeah, mate. I mean, I could keep. I don't really want to give. A lot of people know, but I'm trying to like hold it because I just want to be able to go, there you are, like enjoy it, use it, like, you know, it's, mate, I'm sorry, I'm really excited because it's like, because I'm a waffling baboon that's been able to create something for people to really benefit from, and like, you know, it's very much.
You were saying there that you were saying there about the videos and that. And I found that really funny because that's me. You know, that
Yeah.
you were saying there, like going out of your comfort zone. Like I
Yeah,
hate being
man.
in front of the camera as well. And you've probably seen it. You go on my like business page, and I did a little bit on my personal page when I was building the bike. And I actually honestly just thought everyone's watching this thinking you tit, you know.
But they're not.
And
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
but the response, like I didn't get any response like online, but in person when these people like met me in person for the first time, because like that's another weird thing as well, like Instagram and they're creating this community of people with the shops
yeah.
and stuff, and then you actually go to a show and these people that you've been
Someone
talking
knows
to,
who you are.
yeah, and it's like, you know, like what the hell?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you know, you inspire, like I've just genuine story, like you inspired me by doing the videos and talking about what you were doing and shit like that and the struggles along the way.
Yeah.
You inspired me to actually do my own stuff and my own back and stuff, and that's what that is exactly what I wanted to achieve. I'm not trying to become some Instagram chopper influencer or anything like that. By no means. I could not want to be any further away from that shit.
Yeah.
But you know, with the Larl Shortys stuff, it's a business. I'm trying to push it. Like, you know, like you know,
that's what you got to do.
You've got to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. I did a video the other day about doing the long sleeve t-shirts and stuff that I'm releasing tomorrow. And it's like, it took me like 10 attempts, man, to just to get the video. And I was like, oh, God damn it, kept messing it up.
Yeah.
And it's just, you've got to push yourself. You've got to keep believing in yourself that you can do it.
And that's it, mate. And I think the thing is, like, the reason why, like, I know I'm on to saying here is, like, realistically, because I'm not offering, like, for example, like, your following is naturally bigger because you're actually creating something. Like, people are, like, intrigued in what you're creating. So like my following is different because obviously I'm not necessarily creating stuff, and effectively it's me talking to people. So but the point I'm making is I haven't given up. That's why I know. I think it's the fact that because it is so difficult, because like simply putting a lot of effort into a podcast, for example, and knowing that it might not get the reach that it needs to get, that I feel that your story deserves, that it's like, but you just got to keep going. Do you know what I mean? Like you really got to keep going. I mean, and like, you know, I've had emails from people, like, thanks for that podcast. Like it helped me keep, you know, I was having I'm going through a bit of a bad time. And it's like, do you know what? Like it's on its own. Is why, you know, because I'm somebody like a lot of men, like a lot of people, you know, struggle with our heads, and I think unfortunately more men do than what they admit to, and you know, and again, like I feel like it's a hard balance because like it's equally about like, unfortunately there's a lot of feminine encouragement out there for men, and it's like, well, I think it's about trying to find a balance, and that's not at all chatting shit on feminine blokes. Like if you're a feminine man, you're a feminine man, but equally it's trying to find that balance for like the normal, again, maybe I should be saying normal, but like, do you know what I mean? Like that working class man that like, because at the end of the day, like if I went to a greasy, do you know what I mean? If I went to a greasy biker or a blue collar man, a greasy biker man, like the people that we kind of like connect with and go, oh, you're right, mate. How you doing? He's look at me and go, what the fuck are you saying? Like, but the reality is that man might say, what the fuck are you saying? Why are you coming across like you fucking trying to hit on me or something like that? But the reality is it's just wording it differently. You know what I mean? It's just it's trying to tell working class old fashioned blokes that, like, you know, it's okay to struggle, but it ain't okay to stay there. You know, I don't want to encourage that fucking, oh, they're there. No, it ain't there. It's like, mate, you've done the hardest thing. You've turned around and said, I'm struggling. what do you need? Do you know what I mean? Like this whole saying in the UK of it's okay not to be okay. I feel the, and I say it all the time, and I will continue to say it because it's like, it's okay not to be okay. Straight up. Absolutely. You've already done the hardest bit, admitting you're not okay. But the reality is it ain't okay to stay there. Like that to me, I feel is the bit that's missing off the end. That is more important than the hardest bit you've done, because it ain't okay. And it almost has to be, it almost has to be said in a bit of a fucking cuntish way. Sorry for the language, but totally, mate, it ain't okay, because off of that comes depression massively, then becomes addiction, then becomes silly thoughts, then unfortunately sometimes becomes silly actions. You know, and it's like we all know what I'm referring to there. It's like do you know what I mean? And as blue collar men, me telling you, oh, it's all right, mate, they're there, that ain't going to help you. It's like, no, all right, mate, right, you've said the hardest bit. What do you need? What do you need? Like, do you need to go to the gym? Do you need to go for a run? Do you need to go and punch it out of a boxing bag? Do you need to take a sledgehammer to an old car? Do you know what I mean? Do you need to angrily break something up? But it's like, I feel that's missing. For me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, and I'm quite open with it. With my partner Tessa is, I mean, this might sound typical, but for me, it's getting out on the bike. It's just being able to, I mean, you know what it's like. You go out on a bike, and you can just go on a journey, and it's not like anything else, and you can just lose yourself and just not think about anything. My head's spinning X amount of plates all the time, especially with this, and how, bringing up a little girl, which is obviously the first time I've ever done that. I don't know what I'm doing. There's the pressure of that. There's the pressure of paying the bills. There's the pressure from work and coming from all directions, and maintaining a good relationship with your partner as well, and stuff like that. And then it's just like, what the hell? And sometimes you just need that bit of time. And for me, it's getting out on the bike, and it does a lot. It does a lot for me. But everyone's different, So
yeah, man. I mean, I've had it going down the road, absolutely, literally screaming under that crash helmet, like literally borderline tears, like some dramatic fucking moment. And I'm doing. I mean, I'm I'm literally like, I'm angry for no reason, but it's not even in an angry man. I'm angrily emotional, like, and I come back, get off, take my lid off, and go, I needed that,
Yeah.
But like, I think that's kind of like.
I've genuinely been out on the bike, and I've pulled out of here onto the main road, and it's been such a long time. I've gone through winter, and it's just all built up. And I've genuinely got on the bike and gone down the road and just randomly become upset with myself, just like, where's that come from? And it's just that release that, like, and it literally does that much for me, and not on a bike here right now. I mean, I'm sat here and I'm looking at a 5-year-old pink push bike, and I'm debating going out on that, it's just I've got no bike, and I openly admit I got myself in a really bad financial way with the last bike, because my dreams just got the better of me, and I really wanted to fulfill them, and I did, and in the end it was worth it. But I asked myself, was it really? I won an award for it, and maybe some respect from some older generation people, which I think is, in my view, is worth more than anyone else at all. Being like where it's come from, and that to me was worth a lot. For them to shake my hand and say, bloody well done, that meant a lot. Kind of a bit like that father and son moment of saying, I'm proud of you. And that really meant a lot. But was it really worth getting in that financial state? It wasn't. And thankfully, a nice man called his son, who runs Cactus Choppers in Japan, Yokohama.
Yeah, I follow him.
Amazing bike builder. and actually turned out to be a bloody big deal in Japan at Moon Eyes, whatever. And it's like, why is this dude just bought my bike? Like, little old me in Cumbria got F all following, nobody gives a toss about, and he has just turned around and said, I want to buy your bike. A bike builder that's respected, like respected. And this isn't me just blowing my own trumpet. This is just how it was. You know, I'm coming at this from like, it's blown my mind. Like, what do you mean? Like, you're a bike builder. Why would a bike builder buy someone else's bike that they've built when they're capable of doing it themselves? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that blew my mind. That for me was like, wow, okay, that meant a lot. But at the same time, I was just glad that it was an opportunity for me to get myself in a better financial state.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not in one at the minute. I'm back to the days that we are, BLX. I'm back there. And
that's it, mate. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do you know, literally, like, no. That's why I'm pushing so much the budget biker build off. You know, I've reached out to some people. So I've reached out to some companies to see if they want to get involved with, with donating a gift for the winner.
Yeah.
And I had one.
I'll do that.
I had one guy that that'd be incredible. Yeah, we'll have to speak about it after.
Yeah.
But I had one guy like message back saying, "Oh, great idea, la di da di da, but maybe you should drop the budget side of it." And I'm like, "Why?" You know, and I understood when he explained himself. I understood it, but I'm like, mate, like we don't need to be arguing like over we don't need to be, well, that's destroying this part of the industry. Like, the reality is the government want bikes off the road. Like, we ain't got time to fucking argue about using Chinese parts or, like, using these parts, using them parts. It's like, again, like, you're forgetting almost a bit of snobbery coming in or whatever. I don't know, and again, like, if you're completely against using Chinese parts, that's okay. Like, everyone's entitled to an opinion. Doesn't mean I have to respect your opinion, but also doesn't give me the right to disrespect your opinion. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? But equally, like, that's what I mean. We're living in a day and age where, like, you randomly think it's okay to go up to someone and say, "Oh, well, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't do this." It's like, well, I randomly also think it's okay to turn around and say, "Well, I never asked, mate." You know what I mean? It's like,
exactly. Like, you do get that, and I'm not like being stereotypical or anything, but it tends to be that older generation of like people that aren't in it, if you know what I mean. Like, people that just aren't in it. You're like, if just passing by or whatever, who hasn't got off the couch for the last 5 years or whatever, he's like, I wouldn't have done that with that bike, whatever. And it's like, well, for a start, I didn't ask for your opinion, but you're entitled to it.
Yeah. I'm not going to disrespect it, but I didn't ask.
Just keep it to yourself, But I was going to ask it, like, in like comparing it to me, not that I have had anything, but with you doing what you do, have you had any, like, anyone message you, anyone give you, like, sort of anyone give you any grief? Has anyone?
No. I mean, obviously, I had obviously when I was reaching out to people to get them to donate, or, well, not so much donate, get them wanting to get involved in the budget biker build off. I had that. I think I had a couple of people when I first started social media. Obviously, I was sharing a lot of pictures of people's bikes. And one guy obviously was like, "Look, why are you sharing all these pictures of these bikes? Like, we've seen them all before." But and again, like, realistically, like, that certainly ain't anything to complain about. You know what I mean? Like, I've been very, very lucky. I have had the worst thing I've had done is I had somebody create a fake account pretending to be 666 Customs. I was doing a giveaway of some shirts because I was doing for a while. I was doing my own clothing.
Right.
and I wanted to give away. I had 3 hoodies, 3 styles of hoodie out. I wanted to give away hoodies, and obviously you do usual like, share, tag your friend, and this guy was allowed to literally create a fake Facebook account by changing. I have a lowercase t. He put a capital T. And Facebook allowed him to do that. You know, I've had about 3 or 4 attempts. 3 or 4 at the very, the matter. I've had 3 or 4 attempts of someone trying to claim ownership of my podcast on Facebook. Like, and it's all Facebook that does this. It's like no one else. And I'm like, but again, like they do say that, you know, you're not doing anything right unless you've got something sort of like haters. Like they call it haters. It's like, keyword fucking warrior. It's like, unless you're prepared to come and stand there and say that to my face, like you're prepared to say, I'm going to steal your content to your face, you know, then it is what it is. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame that Facebook allow that to happen so easily. Because it's like, at the end of the day, you've gone to the effort of creating this content, whether it be sat doing a podcast or, you know, whatever. But no, I think, again, I'm not big enough. I mean, I'm hoping that I would have some, you know, I hope it will get bigger and someone will say something, you know, hiding in their mum's basement, like chatting shit, you know.
Do you know what? I mean, the reason why I asked it was because, for the most part, most of us don't experience anything like that. And what I was getting at is, that's good. You know, like, that's nice to see that there is so much. I have had so much support from people, and I find it weird. You know, although you try to create a successful business or whatever, I just can't. I've not come out of normality yet into a proper business head of like, like just, you know, just ignoring like the compliments and stuff like that. To me, it, not that people do, but you know, like just taking it for granted. That's what I mean. I think I'm at that point where I appreciate so much every single person that places an order, that just messages and says, dude, I think what you're doing is awesome, you know, and I'm not buying anything now, but I'm building this and I am going to totally get this, and this. And I love that. And I've had that. I have genuinely had that from a surprising amount of people. And I mean, you may have been the same as well, but when you start this sort of adventure that you're on, excuse me, that you're on, it's like, is this going to be a waste of time? Is this going to be successful? Am I like just pissing in the wind? What am I doing? Like, is this going to be any good? And it starts off small and it grows, and it will, you know, you keep doing it. Like you said before, you keep doing it and it will grow. And it grew and it grew and it grew. And then I was going to do a 500. I mean, I've still not even done it, and it's really bad this, but I'm going to admit it. But I didn't do the 500 follower giveaway. And the reason being is because it flew past it.
Yeah.
And I was like so caught up with what I was doing here, and like I could not keep up with everything that was going on to be able to go, oh, hang on a minute, I need bloody hell, I haven't done that. And then it just got to the point where it's like, oh, what is the point? Just forget about it. I'll do it at like, I don't know, another figure. And then but then I became with a different mindset. And I was like, that bit doesn't matter. Like you said before, exactly what you said before. It doesn't matter how many people are, you know, are following right now, because you know where it's going. And it really does my head in that with Instagram, it's all about followers and blah blah blah. But it's just figures. It's just another way to look at it is it's just figures. You know, it's like you get people that's like, you know, I've got 100,000 followers, like look at me, sort of thing. Couldn't a flying toss, you know. Couldn't give a toss.
I mean, I like I said earlier, like the only reason I'm conscious of numbers is because naturally the more people discover what I'm doing, the more people I can get on. Do you know what I mean? And equally, the more people listen to your story, because it's literally that's what it's about. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you guarantee once someone's listened to 3 or 4 episodes of my podcast, they're going, yeah, Josh, you said that in episode 1, because, you know, like I'm not like my story isn't really changing that much. It's not changing that much because I'm not doing that much. Like I'm not in the shed tinker. You know, I haven't touched my bike since last. I mean, I haven't ridden since July, and I haven't worked on my bike since September. Do you know what I mean? But it's don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm not sat here doing anything. You know, it's obviously trying to learn about metadata. It's like, fucking hell, I struggle to absorb information. You know, it's like I'm trying to learn about social media marketing now and trying to learn about advertising and things, because I really do want this to become a full-time business, you know, and like with the social, with the website and like I said, you know, I really do want to get back in the shed, and, you know, I've got some really, really cool ideas for my 125, and you know, and again, like being openly honest about things costing a lot of money. Like I got my new camera on finance, you know, I've nearly finished paying it. My laptop's a Windows 7 laptop. Like I did 50 episodes with a £20 webcam, and I nicked my son's microphone. The only reason I took 5 months out from podcasting was because I knew that if I carried on with the quality of content I was putting out there, it was going to affect me more than it was going to benefit me, you know, so I had to stop. And I had to I felt like I was like 3 minutes past 12, heading for 12 o'clock. And the further out you get, you end up further away. Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of figured that I had to pull it back in a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. I mean, I think the direction in which Larl Shortys is going, I quite like where it's going, where I can see it's going.
Yeah, I think it's great. What I really liked is I really like how almost like ruffling feathers of people, because there'll be people out there that won't like the fact that you're sat there making plastic versions of things first.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
I like the fact that it's completely different to what people expect.
Yeah, like chopper parts are typically, like, I like to think I specialize just in chopper parts because, I mean, well, that's the aim anyway. Or that's the market for now. And the thing is, it's like people like typically, right, slab of mild steel, I'm going to cut this out, I'm going to do it all manually. Carry on, crack on. But when you go on a catalog that has got some of the best products in it, they're all like mass produced. They're all produced in a way that's like identical, you know, real high quality. And like I was going to say before, for 2025, and this is what I said in one of them daft videos that I did, for me, it was like, right, 2025, new challenge. I've come into 3D products, and that's by the end of this year, I aim to have a few products out fully that anyone can purchase. Not going to start running before I can walk. Do you know what I mean? This year, I'm just walking with it. And the road to that is doing it. I want to do it in a way that is very high quality, but for money that is what you'd expect to pay, but maybe a little bit less than that, you know. So
yeah, obviously you've got to keep the lights on and progress. You know, it comes back to balance, isn't it? Like you could be greedy and people will buy it, but then are you equally being true to yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You've come from like grassroots, like selling to the millionaires, to the hipsters, which you are going to be selling to, but also giving opportunity. Exactly like me, like with the website, like you're going to be able to use everything for free, or you're going to be able to use everything that at a very low cost, but it's going to make your life easier. Like if you're, for example, full on working, like you haven't got time to write a blog, so I'm going to be able to give you
No,
certain
exactly.
tools that are going to help you writing a blog, you know?
Yeah. And it's what you're getting at is it's open and approachable for everyone. And that is
Everybody.
what I want to do. That's what I want to achieve. Like, yeah, some people are still going to have the opinion of, oh, flipping out, well, that's a bit expensive. Well, that's fine. You're not going to please everyone. But
No.
I am trying to, I sit, the amount of hours that I put into this that I don't regain in profit from what I sell is unbelievable. The amount of time that goes into this that I don't get anything back for, you know, is ridiculous. So like you've got the investments in the machines, the investment of my time, and everything that goes into it. Like I have to put my own wages, the little that I have spare, into this 100% to make it work. And pretty much, I'm not going to lie, everything that has come out of it at the other end has gone back into it to keep it running. Like I'm not driving an AMG Merc. Absolutely not. You know, like all these machines that you see here, all of the profit, all of the money, like this laptop that we're talking to each other through now, you know, that's a bag of sand nearly. You know, like I've had to reinvest all of the profit that I've made into the equipment to carry this on. If I didn't get this laptop, I wouldn't be able to even run. I wouldn't even be able to open the 3D CAD software that I need to use. You know what I mean? Like the people don't see that. People don't see that any of it. You know, I'm 3D prototyping stuff and then taking that in a direction that, like you said there, it's different. It's different than what other people are doing. Like they'll like say like look at Chris Hatton, for example. You know, it's proper down raw sort of like he'd made those top trees and top clamps or whatever you want to call them, and he's done it proper. You know, raw, like old school style.
Like sand casting and
you know, that's how it comes across anyway. And you know, top lad, the work that he does is really good. And you know, there's you're gonna have situations where maybe sometimes your products might clash. You know, like you might be making the same thing, but people have a choice. You know, at the end of the day, if you're not
there's a place for everybody, isn't there?
Exactly, isn't there? Yeah. So you know, it's like there's a couple of people that you could say maybe are a competition. But I don't see it like that. I just see like, right, well, this is me. I'm doing me. I purposely don't follow like certain people so I don't get influenced. So I can keep my work and the stuff I do true to me and what's in here. I'll think of it. I'll write it down, and then it's on here 5:30 in the morning, prototyping during the day I'm at work. Come back, the 3D printer's done its job. Is it right? No. Shit, I've got to do it again. And I keep going until I get it right. And then like, you know, like the kicker pedals.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like that.
Bloody ages, you know. The pegs, you know, like them, the flipping heck, you know, the time that's gone into it is unbelievable. But I like to think that with the support that people have shown so far, that they'll keep showing the support and it'll work and it will keep growing. And you know, the same for you. You know, it's just the same crack, isn't it? And like, you know, I've got this. I didn't want to do. Everyone typically does like merchandise, like t-shirts, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, right at the beginning. As soon as they like start something open, it's like, all right, I'm going to do t-shirts, and it's like brand new, nobody knows about it. And like you say, all the hipsters will buy it. You know, it's just because it's chopper shit, and that's great. But I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go down the textbook route of someone opening up a little small time business. You know, in this niche sort of market. And I've now got to the point where it's like, okay, well, I've got people interested in what it is I actually do. I don't make t-shirts. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm about. So I've got people interested in what I actually do, the process in which how I get there, which I like to be open about it. Like I like to share, like flipping it. I've made a mistake doing this. I need to redo this, but we're getting there. Like bear with us, you know, like this stuff will eventually come out. But and then later on, when I've got the support that has been shown, maybe now it's maybe worth doing a little bit of like merchandise, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, definitely.
And the response has been really good. I'm just hoping that tomorrow when it goes live, you know, it does well. But we'll see. And yeah, like I say, I've got people messaging me saying, dude, like I am definitely getting one of them gearbox plates, you know, and it's like, right, wow, you know, like it means a lot, really does mean a lot. And all I say to these people is, look, please just bear with me, you know, like, because it's just me, you know, this isn't Prism Supply. This isn't like a massive team of people with CNC machines in house. And it just goes from idea to prototype to doing it and building it all in a day. You know, it's not, we're not at that point. And it probably never will be. It's
you never
just
know.
me in the garage.
You never know.
You know, and it's, I've got 4 feet this way and 2 feet. That's me. That's what I work in. And I like to think what I'm doing in the facilities that I've got around me, I'm doing all right, you know. And yeah, it's like that's that thing, like we said earlier, keep coming back to it. You've just got to keep pushing and keep trying, and don't let the things around you that are becoming challenging to stop, you know, don't let them stop you from doing what you're trying to do and trying to achieve. So yeah, hopefully it goes in a good direction. I've got some stuff coming out this year. The first thing I want to bring out is the gearbox plates, and then looking onto the kicker pedals from that. But again, you know, like when I'm going to bring out 15, like just a bit of a heads up, I'm going to bring out 15 of those gearbox plates when they're eventually done. You have no idea how much that costs.
No, I bet.
To make those 15.
Bet. Yeah, I bet it's not cheap.
It's ridiculous, yeah. It's more than I get paid in a month. It's a lot of money. And that's got to come out my pocket. Because again, it's not coming from profits, because it's all gone back into this stuff. You know, and then I've got, okay, so I bring the gearbox plates out, but then I want to make, you know, X amount of the kicker pedals, hoping that they're going to sell. But how much does that cost? Okay, so well, when I've sold the kicker pedals, I need to restock them and I need to bring out other products. Where do we get that money from? Okay, well, I've made so much profit. Guess where it goes? It goes back into making something else. So I'm on year 2. I'm on year 2 of running Larl Shortys now. And you know, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's like that old saying of like, first year, it's just you're crawling. You know, like, you're not going to get anywhere. It's going to start. It's going to be growing, but year 2, you'll be like, okay, now we're getting somewhere, but you won't make any money. And then year 3, it blows up. It's like, that's when you actually start to make some money. You see the benefit of it. You start being able to see the benefit of, you know, sharing that new income with your family or whatever, in which, like I said that before, you know, that's why I do it. And hopefully that's where it's going to go. So I think for me, like we said before, like doing shows and having stalls, and people like to touch and feel, don't they? And I like to think that I'll get there. You know, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But we'll do that in like a year or 2. You know, I'm not there yet. But it's a good journey though. I'm enjoying it, and I'm there's no pressure. You know, like I say, yeah, I might throw a lot of money at this, and it might not sell. But how do you know if you don't try?
That's it, isn't it? That's it. I said the
bike
same.
building.
You know, it's like that's
It's
it.
like
At
you and your
least
bike
the
building that.
worst case it doesn't. You know, but it's you know, at least you can fucking look at the family and say you tried. It's like,
Exactly.
you
I
know,
mean, I
no
could
one can
just turn
punish you for
around and just
trying.
say, sod it. You know what I mean? I could just turn around and say, sod it, and just sit on the sofa and not do anything and just go and work 9 to 5. But there's more in me than that. You know, I'm better than that. I can do more than that. So,
no, it's great, mate. It is great. I think this is possibly the longest podcast we've done.
you
I think
know
that,
what the problem is, don't you? You know what the problem is, don't you? You've got 2 people that like to talk a lot of shit, and you've put together, haven't you? That's the result.
we're coming up 2 hours and 51 minutes. Like, I think the longest I did before that, I think was 2 hours 38. I think. But no, I think it's great, mate. I think it's great. I mean, at the end of the day, it works for Joe Rogan, doesn't it? 3-hour podcast. So,
well,
you know,
someone's got to listen to it, haven't they? You know what I mean?
Maybe that's where it's. Yeah, no, mate. I think that's what, you know. At the end of the day, you got to tell your story however you got to tell it, right? You know, and if that's how it is, that's how it is. It's. I think. I mean, for me, it's great just to sit and listen to people. No, not at all. You know, at the end of the day, it's like this is what I think is so cool about podcasting is like you get to create connections with people. You get to like hear their stories, hear what they're about, and hopefully like people that do come across it get to hear. You know, like you say, hopefully people will listen to this if they do, and they'll hear like how much you've put into this. You know what I mean? Because obviously they see the best stuff, and they see the little bits that you want them to see about how you find things difficult. But then they also, you know, or whatever it is you want to give people, you know, the right to know. But then this is almost like it's more of a personal level. Do you know what I mean? It's a great It's a great privilege to be able to do this with people, and you know, I mean, fucking hell, like. I mean, I got to interview Bobby that owns Indian Larry Motorcycles. Do you know what I mean? It's like who was Larry's business partner all the time that Larry was alive, obviously. And you know, and it's like this is what I mean. It's like it's just crazy how you sit there and like you never think that you're like. I told the story like when I was interviewing Bobby. I was like, I was that 12-year-old kid sat on a sofa in Spain because I grew up in the south of Spain at that time, and watching Discovery Channel with my dad, watching Indian Larry on Discovery Channel. Then think like 2012, I got Larry's question mark tattooed in my hand. To then all of a sudden, 11 years later, I'm interviewing the guy that has kept Larry's legacy alive. It's like
mad, that,
fucking hell, and I'm just a waffling little dude sat in the corner of my front room. You know what I mean? I use my space saving table as my seat where I'm sat, and like my missus and the kids, they just go and do their own thing and shut the door, and they're like, "Here he goes again, waffling on shit." But it's like, you know, not saying it because effectively I'm telling the same stories to. You know, obviously I try and change them up when I do something new, because one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to fucking bullshit my way through this. You know, I'm not going to go, I'm building this in my shed and I'm building that or I'm doing this and I'm doing that, because people know what's fake. Like they know what's fake. And even if you think they don't, they do. And at the end of the day, I think that doing podcasts like this, if it takes 3 hours to tell the story, people are looking for real shit. They just don't even know they're looking for real shit. The world's so full of fake, crazy, idiotic shit that there are still people out there that are looking for realness, and listening to your story and you being openly honest that, you know, all the profits go back into it, and like 5 o'clock in the morning, like people need to hear this. Like, it may not be that they need to hear it to appreciate your product more, but they need to hear that. Because at the end of the day, someone out there might want to learn how to 3D print and create their own whatever it is, and then they see you doing some incredible bits. Unfortunately, some people are so insecure in themselves that they'll look at what you've done and go, oh, I can't do that, and then they won't even try it. But if it means that they listen to a podcast and they hear how you set a program going at 5 a.m, do your workout, go to work, come home, and it's absolutely not come out how you want it. Like, people do need to hear that.
Yeah.
People need to hear that, and if it's, do you know what I mean? Like, the world is looking for real shit. They just don't know. That's what I say. I say it like that. I say the world's looking for real shit, and they don't know they're looking for it.
When you talk about that, there, it's like, I think that is what a podcast is supposed to be. It is supposed to be about people just being real and true to themselves and being transparent, and that's how I like to try and keep it as well. I mean, there's little things, like you were saying there with the Indian Larry and stuff. There's little things that I've seen or heard or have been told in the last, literally up until like this week, that you just carry with you and from a day to day. And it's like Indian Larry on one of his interviews, and he's like, I don't try to look at anyone else's stuff. I literally don't look at it, because it then influences me to do this and it influences me to do that, and then it's not real, and that's always stuck with me, and that's how I try to do this. And then, like, literally this week, just something totally different, but something just sticks with you and tells you to keep going. It's like James Ball, who runs the Hookup, says to us, dude, there's 24 hours in a day. And he's a fantastic businessman, fantastic, great success. And he's like, dude, keep going. There's 24 hours in a day. To insinuate, you can do it. You've got to. And I responded to him with, well, yeah, that's why I'm sat here now at 5:30 a.m. doing this. And he was just like, spot on. That is what you need to do. And there's certain things that people say to you in life, I've realized, that stick with you. I mean, I'm flipping out. I'm dyslexic badly. I mean, how I'm still, going, I don't know. I'm dyslexic badly, and I've struggled. I've really struggled. And I've, I have to tell myself so much that you can do this, you can do that, and you have to believe in yourself so much. Like, I believe in myself that much at times, not all the time, but at times I have like a spur in a moment. I can do this so much that I will do something first time that I've never done ever, with no knowledge about it, and pull it off. Like that exhaust. Like the exhaust. I keep coming back to it, but the exhaust on the shovel head.
Yeah.
I've never built an exhaust. I mean, I'm not even including the VLX. The VT600, sorry. I'm not including that. That for me, that was building an exhaust. That was getting stainless tube, and building that bloody thing. And that I told myself I can do it. The TIG welding, never done it. TIG welding wise, I can do this. I can get them rainbow dimes. I can get it. I'll show you a picture. I'll send you a picture. I got them. You can do it. Man. And like you say, if I, if we're signing off now, and I've got one last thing to say, it's to people. It's if you've got something that you've got a dream to do, go and do it. Just go and nail it, because if you don't try, you're never gonna know. And,
that's it, isn't
it? It could take you somewhere.
That's it. You just, like, you just don't know, do you? It's like, yeah, for me, it's just like being able to sit down and talk to incredible people around the world. I mean, fucking hell, I interviewed a
Yeah,
bike builder in Japan. It's like I'm you know, the
yeah,
way I look at it is like I may never get the opportunity to go to Japan, but how fucking cool is it that I've been able to sit and talk to somebody live and broadcast it
yeah,
live with someone that's
yeah,
on the other side of the world, you know,
yeah,
and it's like fucking hell, like I'm just, you know what I mean? Yeah, we're very much the same type of people. We're very much, I think, humble in what we're doing, appreciate what we're doing, appreciate people appreciating what we're doing, you know.
mm, yeah, yeah,
But that's
totally.
it. So for people that want to order parts from you, or like the best way for people to get hold of you, we're talking
Yeah,
Facebook, Instagram,
best.
website.
Yeah, so best way is Instagram. So just put in at Larl Shortys, or if you just go on Google, if you want to go straight to the website for the products, literally just put Larl Shortys in. Big Cartel website right at the top. Can't miss it. Just go on there. Frequently updating it. If you know something's run out, it'll tell you. If it's coming soon, it'll tell you. Have a flick through there. You know, there's like I say, there's a lot of the custom laser work. You know, if you want an ignition cover, whether it's vertical 2-bolt or horizontal, not doing the 5 stud at the minute, but because I'm aiming it more towards the older choppers. But you know, even it still applies to sportsters and stuff. You know, anything 2-bolt. You've got a design, hit me up, send me a message, and we'll work on it. And then, you know, then we'll go from there. And same with the carb supports as well. Do the carb supports.
Yeah,
They've
they're
been a good
cool.
success.
Yeah.
You've got the ones that have just got the Larl Shortys logo, like the outside of the logo.
Yeah, the cutout.
You know,
Yeah, the out of it. Yeah.
you can either run one of them, like I did the Christmas giveaway with them, and people really appreciated that stuff, you know. And it was just me giving a little bit back. That was me just saying thank you for this
Yeah.
year, a little bit back. But yeah, so we've got the oil filters as well. They're a big hit. Lloyd grabbed one of those actually. I think he's going to put a couple on his couple of different builds as well. And then we've got the spanners as well for the oil filters, because there's such a because they're anodized aluminium and you scratch it. When one of them big spanners there, you just knacker them up. So we built the 3D printed spanners so that you can keep it in a tool bag. You can keep it with you in case for whatever reason you need to crack that thing open. But yeah, go on there. Larl Shortys on Google or on Instagram is the best way to get hold of me. DM me on there. Again, just at Larl Shortys on there.
Yeah, man. No, that's awesome. I mean, like I say, obviously for anyone that's listening to this on Spotify as well or Amazon Music, you'll be able to go down to the description, and there'll be a link to social media on there anyway. I like to do that because obviously some people like to have a read through that. And no, mate, it's been an honor. It's been great. It's been great to. It's been awesome because I waffle. Yeah. To be honest, most of my podcasts are me waffling on more than my guests. So it's somebody that equally has as much enthusiasm to tell their story as I do, you know?
Totally, yeah. Well, like we said that before all this kicked off, you know, I'm just as interested about what you're doing as you are me. You know, it's not about me, it's about giving you the opportunity to say what you're doing as well. So a lot of the time, I know for a fact that a lot of the time it isn't, you know, people don't ask in reverse, you know, they just answer. So it's been really good.
You know, it's good. It is good.
Yeah, it's been really good. Go on.
Yeah. So I think I'll hit the end stream button in a minute, and like I say we'll still be on here chatting anyway. But it's thanks once again. So for like I say, everyone that wants to check out www.larlshorty.com, or it's Larl Shorty on Instagram.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Dave, for having us on.
Awesome, dude. I'll hit the old end stream button here. 1 sec.